Fafita wants to go deep, wants it all. He's got it all. Jacob Callaway from 35.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
Sanders steps up in the pocket, runs it, gets the first down, and more. Sanders sprinting to the end zone. Touchdown, Colorado.
Live from Las Vegas for Big 12 Media Days.
His first throw is intercepted. It's going the other way. Karene Reed, what a start.
Our coverage of Big 12 Media Days is presented by Allen Samuels House of Travel.
Nice job.
Nice work. Scatterboo. Scatters in. Touchdown. Arizona State.
Big 12 Media Day is also sponsored by IdealMRI.com. Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott. Camille Johnson Realtors. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. Alliance Bank.
They like to bring pressure. Here's a lot of pressure. Get it out of the league. Touchdown, Kansas State.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Well, good afternoon, David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke. And we have an entourage here today, along with Garrett Ross, Jack McKenzie, Emery Winter, and more. Brian Etheridge is on his way, one of the partners. We are live inside Lotus Broadcasting in Las Vegas, Nevada. Friend of ours from back in the day in the old radio days, Q, who now has worked in Vegas for the last 4 years, set us up with the hospitality here today. Tomorrow and Wednesday, we'll be inside Allegiant Stadium and, of course, host of the Big 12 Media Days. We have news on Ollie Gordon, news on yet something somewhat intriguing, of course, with the ACC. That's always every day. And Baylor with a big-time commitment yesterday. And what does that mean? So let's start with this. First of all, Allen Samuels, House of Travel, set us up with every one of our airline tickets. Appreciate that. Thanks very much to Bambi SQ, Bill Denton and Company, and then also our Airbnb that we'll be at, which is the same place we stayed during Super Bowl week back in early February. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, we can start with this. Before we get to Ollie Gordon's statement or whatever, what do you think is the biggest storyline that the Big 12, as we head into 16 teams over the next couple of days in Las Vegas to discuss the conference coming up this fall?
I would say it's the 4 new teams coming in this year. I think that's the biggest story, and how they're going to fit in. I think that's going to be the buzz, and everybody's going to be trying to get to know those Utah and Colorado and the Arizona schools. So I think that's going to be the biggest buzz is learning those teams.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's also the fact that it's the first year without Oklahoma and Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Not to make it continuously be about them, but when you were day one members and you were the 2 biggest members still standing and you've now left, and there's no more goodbye tour, there's no more, hey, they're leaving in a couple of years, or hey, this is their last year. It's like, no, they're gone. This is a brand new league. And so to Paul's point, yeah, there's 4 new members as well, and the 4 that will be just entering their second year in this league. So I think it's just the changing that continues on, and now being at a place where it is a league where, save for maybe a complete surprise, like we've mentioned before, if the Big Ten or decided to take a flyer, and you hear rumors about what teams would be involved. I saw one about Kansas just the other day, and I brought that up multiple times before about just Kansas would be a team, or West Virginia if things were to fall a certain way. Those types of things. Barring something like that, like this is going to be the league for a while. This grouping of teams, and so we know that leagues aren't getting smaller; they're getting bigger. It's gotten quite big. It's a new leaf turned over, and there's no remaining blue blood schools. It's all schools that are pretty similar in many regards, and so I think it's a lot of that. So a little bit of what Paul said, a little bit more ketchup added onto that, or whatever flavoring you like, and I think that's going to be the main key. Is just this is the new Big 12 in 2024. Yeah,
it is different, and we'll see 4 of the schools that have joined: Utah, Colorado, Arizona State. We've tried to cover them as much as we can tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we actually get to meet some of them, and including guys that have been reporters that we've had on, that when a lot of the speculation began of when those 4 might be a part of it. despite so much of there's no way it's going to happen, the Pac-12 has disappeared, and we'll have Utah, Colorado, and the 2 schools from Arizona to be a part of it. Let's start with Ollie Gordon. We know the story from, a couple of weeks ago. He was arrested for an alleged DUI, and we even had this discussion last week about whether or not he would be at Big 12 Media Days. I made the comment, correct me if I'm wrong, as I thought it would be great for him to be there so he could get out front as a Heisman candidate and also maybe be able to say what he wants to say. He released a statement earlier today. We'll get to that. Are you surprised he's coming?
Yeah, maybe not as much. I mean, like after Craig, we talked about it. Craig, when I went back in the history and found some other people who had committed similar transgressions for the Pokes, and Mike Gundy handles it a different way. And I'm not here to tell you that's right or wrong. I have no idea. Like, does it work? Did they not get another one? Like, okay, great. So I'm just surprised because even though he released a statement, he's still going to answer questions about it when he's up there on podiums because, most reporters don't really care about your statement. They're going to ask something else.
Yeah.
Not really knowing kind of Gundy's history, that he hasn't treated everything the same way, and he hasn't always been the harshest towards suspending guys because they've been in trouble. So I think, in the case of Ollie Gordon, they'll let the law play out, and I'm not surprised he's their biggest star. He's one of the biggest stars in the Big 12, and I think that to, take him off the board would have been understandable, but I also can see where Gundy's coming from. Not that I necessarily agree with it. I'm sure we'll hear him say something because somebody will,
sure,
of course, ask about Ollie Gordon and ask, why did you decide to bring him along? And I'd imagine he'll have an answer that we'll hear in the coming days. So I'll be tuned into that. And I think, it's just maybe a situation where a guy who's, yes, a very good player, and that certainly helps matters, but is a good guy, all things considered, and made an honest mistake. And maybe that's the way they're approaching it as well. But I'm a little bit surprised, but not totally shocked based on just kind of how history has gone. And there's a big article on Polk's report, I think is where it originated, that kind of went over some of the suspensions that Gundy's handed out over the years. And they differ. They kind of differ depending on the situation. So I think that's one of those that you see here, one of those types of decisions that is its own unique situation.
Ollie Gordon did release a statement. The first part of it was about apologizing to everybody, basically that he probably needed to, if in fact he did. I say probably needed to. That's up to him. Regardless of the outcome of this pending investigation, I did not uphold the values I have for myself and for the OSU football program. I'm committed to learning and growing from this mistake, and I will work to earn back the trust of those who I have disappointed. Thank you, Ollie Gordon, with his signature at the bottom. He's a hell of a player. We know he had a spectacular year last year. And I just felt like, and it might be what you guys are saying too, that Gundy it sometimes reacts differently than what maybe the status quo, which kind of makes him unique. And I felt like it would be good for him to be here. We'll see him tomorrow or whenever Oklahoma State is here, and look forward to having hear what he has to say.
I'll tell you, of the 16 schools had their star player gotten a DUI the week before media days, at least 12 of them would have been like, well, he's not going. At least 12. So credit to Oklahoma State for going into the breach on this and continuing it. Like, here's the other thing for Ollie Gordon. He's a Heisman candidate again.
Yeah.
It's not good for him not to get out there. So if you want to have him have a legitimate chance of doing this, you have to take every opportunity that the other schools are going to roll out there. You don't think that every chance that Carson Beck gets to, roll out in front of something that Georgia's not going to be like, hey, look at Carson Beck.
Yep.
He would really look good in that house, wouldn't he?
Yep.
He'll have fun with Charlie Ward and
Reggie Bush.
You're like, yeah, that'll be a hilarious commercial.
I mean, he might still be suspended for all we know. That'll, I'm sure, be part of the question that Gundy ends up answering, whoever ends up asking about the Ollie Gordon situation. So just because he's here doesn't mean that there won't still be some punishment. I mean, of course, there'll be some level of punishment, but, who's to say he doesn't get suspended for a game? But, yeah, I think a lot of things taken into account. And it'll be good to hear Ollie Gordon talk because, I think they were smart to throw out that statement, address it head on, and let it be known that he was going to be here and have him go ahead and say something before just getting peppered with questions and then having to respond for the very first time. So from their standpoint, I think that they handled it about as smoothly as you could have if you wanted to have Ollie Gordon here at Media Days. And, yeah, he made a mistake. He committed a crime allegedly, and that will play itself out. But I don't, think the kid's like the Unabomber or something now, like he made a dumb choice, and that will be taken care of behind closed doors and maybe even in front of closed doors, depending on how the next couple of days go, or, at least on their media day. And then, depending on whatever the punishment ends up being. But I'm glad that we'll get to hear from him. Not going to see him at another Oklahoma State media day. He's going to be a guy who's, going off to the pros after this year. So I think it's a opportunity that Oklahoma State probably feels like they get they need to spotlight this guy. If he allows them the ability to feel like they're making the right decisions, having him still be a part of things, then yeah, you're gonna go forward with that. And you're gonna spotlight the guy who is a star on your team.
All right. Again, we're live at Lotus Broadcasting in Las Vegas, just from downtown. Tomorrow and Wednesday, we'll be inside of Allegiant Stadium, home of the Raiders, and where the Super Bowl was played earlier this year. So that's where we'll be tomorrow with Big 12 Media Days, 8 schools each day. ADs in some cases will be there. Head coaches from every school will be there. And usually each team will have 3, 4, or 5 players who will be there as well. We'll try to bring as much of that wall-to-wall to you. We'll be here first thing tomorrow morning at the stadium and Wednesday to even be able to record some of the interviews and segments and then bring them back to you, if not Tuesday, Wednesday, but also later in the week. By the way, I hope you had a great 4th of July weekend. We did. I think we all had a chance to kind of decompress again. So hopefully you enjoyed whatever it was and wherever you might have been to do that. There's also, and I see a lot of the speculation about, because realignment is almost like contagious. It's a word that gets people like the fervor, and people just get like frothing at the mouth about the possibility, because what we've seen for the last 3 summers. Paul Catalina, you mentioned this. Florida State is going to get unredacted copies of the ESPN ACC multimedia agreement per a judge. Hasn't somebody already seen Clemson? Aren't they the ones that saw that?
Clemson saw a slightly redacted copy. And now Florida State will get to see the fully unredacted copy. Now, there's a lot of complex stuff on this. I had to read really quickly because I saw it just before the show. But what ESPN and the ACC are really worried about is Florida State, if they have this in their legal department, because they're a state institution, they are subject to a public records request that they would have to fulfill, especially in the state of Florida, which is pretty big on those things. That's why they're getting it in the first place, because of this sunshine law that they have. But the judge made a ruling that, the ACC and ESPN will be able to have hearings on why that request for a Freedom of Information Act shouldn't be filled, because this is proprietary information. But Florida State will get to see it. What that means, I mean, I don't know. Like, you're going to see a lot of people out there going, well, this means that they'll find their way out, or there's some kind of smoking gun in this document. I don't know. I mean, we've had Bob Thompson and Pat Crakes on a bunch, and I asked them about, like, what's so secret about this? And they're like, well, it's not really anything that would be damning to probably, Florida State or ESPN or anything like that. It's just there are things in there that other conferences don't know. Like, the Big 12 doesn't know what the ACC's deal is. They kind of do, but
I thought they copied and pasted the Big 12's deal.
Well, ESPN does that and then changes things, but there might be things in there that, if the Big 12 found out, they'd be like, hey, man, the hell, bro? What are you doing? So, yeah, those are things, and they don't want trade secrets out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's news. That's some other, piece of news to chew on. I think that there was a story, I don't know, last week or the week before, and as has become customary now, because there is such a fervor that you talk about, like, anything is treated like it's like an asteroid's coming to Earth. And I saw whatever the last legal update was with Florida State before this one, and I saw a Florida State commentator who is deep into realignment, like bulge eyes emoji, and oh my God, here it comes. And there's like an actual lawyer underneath that goes, this is standard protocol. This is exactly how every case in America works. And, so that's what you got to be careful of. Like, not every little court thing is a massive deal. But I guess if you're, so inclined to make it that way, or you don't know any better, then it can feel that way. But it was just kind of funny how that just took the air right out of the balloon of like, actually, that's just how it always works in America. This, on the other hand, Clemson's had their time to look at the redacted copies. I think there is this sentiment for those who just so badly want to happen, like, here now they've got the magic bullet, and I don't really feel like that's the case necessarily here. I just feel like it's more of the ongoing legal process. Could it be good? Yeah, sure. Maybe there's something in there that unlocks the keys to the rest of the kingdom, so to speak, and they're able to free themselves. But it just seems to me to be more of just an ongoing process of trying to mediate this thing. But until you can come to some type of a settlement, which I don't know if there's anything close to that happening at this point, you're going to continue to work the legal system. And so back and forth we go like a game of ping pong. And that's what we've been doing now for the last few months. And that's the way it's going to continue to be until there is an actual smoking gun that, ends this thing. Although I feel like that probably will be found by now. Or there's some type of an agreement made. But I know that there is, especially here in this month of July, a lot of fervor, I think, because you've had people with some cachet come out and introduce themselves and what they've heard. And then you've also got the fact that this is the last real dead period before the actual season starts. So everybody is clamoring for something to keep them entertained. We'll have media days. Look, it'll be a topic, I'm sure. Brett Yormark will get asked because everybody considers him like the realignment man now at this point. I don't know if he'll have any answer other than the Big 12 is always open for business, which is not necessarily realignment related, but can be. And, I'm sure Jim Phillips will have his questions. And I don't know about the ACC or the SEC and the Big 10 of how much it'll get brought up there. But, it's an ongoing topic, but it's definitely not like we've been saying, at least for a while. It doesn't feel like anything that's just impending, but it's one of those things that if they came to an agreement or a settlement, or there's a smoking gun, wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden that's going down, then so be it. But if there's, who knows, maybe Texas, Oklahoma type situation. A lot of people have been bringing that up.
Well,
lately.
okay, I was going to bring this up. By the way, Barry Odum, UNLV football coach, will join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll have Eli Letterman from ESPN at 4. Cam Martin from South Oak Cliff, who committed to Baylor over the weekend. In fact, yesterday, Red Oak, excuse
Cam
me.
Martin's running back.
Cam Morgan, defensive lineman who committed to Baylor on Sunday. Grayson Grundhafer sat down, had an interview with him, a highly rated player. What does that mean for Baylor? And we'll also look at the rest of recruiting with Eli at 4. And then we'll also have Andy Staples from On3.com in the 5 o'clock hour. Paul's Top 5 will join us too. On a scale of 1 to 10, when we look at the last 3 summers, 21, you had Texas and Oklahoma, and eventually led into 4 new teams in the Big 12. Then, of course, 22, you had the changes then with teams joining the conferences, moving. And then 23 last year, of course, the summer, which led to Colorado, Utah, the Pac-12 dissolving schools in the Big 10, also ACC and more. On a scale of 1 to 10, compared to the last 3 summers, this is a 0.
No, I mean, there's nothing going on.
There's no meat on the bone, even though there were denials and there were thoughts about, they're really compared to what you could see that was building. Now that can change quickly, but basically it's like,
Clemson and Florida State is a thing, but it's not really a thing yet because they're just in court. And everybody wants the Florida State and Clemson to wrap up like an episode of Law and Order or Matlock, where at the end, an hour later, they're like, all right, guilty, not guilty, you're out. It's not that. It's going to be a long process, and partially because the ACC is going to intentionally try to make it as long as it can to run up the clock on whatever they can. So yeah, I mean, this is nothing. And also Florida State and Clemson is a new thing because everybody else kind of left in the dead of night, and Florida State and Clemson are out there saying, well, we want to do that too. But we don't have, expiring contracts like everybody else did, so they could try to sneak out the door. So we're trying to do it differently. But other than it's a court case. So unless you're a lawyer or, a paralegal or, what do they call the stenographer? It's not really all that interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is for the fans who are just into the legal side of things, or those who feel like every update's going to suddenly be that key to, again, unlocking whatever needs to be unlocked to allow them out of the ACC household and into wherever they are supposed to be going. There's a couple of options. That's it. And no, the Big 12 is not one of those, in my opinion. But it's nothing like those from the standpoint of there were completely out of the blue shockers like Oklahoma and Texas, and then there was a long.
USC UCLA was next, right?
That was completely. I mean, for the most part, that was completely out of the blue as well, and. Those are different in that way. And then, yes, of course, there was message board talk and rumors, and forever and ever Texas was trying to get out of the conference and all that. But nobody pegged like that time period to the SEC the way that it happened. So that was shocking because of how, when, and the way that it unfolded. UCLA, USC. People will tell you now after the fact, oh, no, I said that. I remember it was still the timing of it. Nobody pegged that I saw to that degree. Like, you can't say something and then like 5 years later it happens and be like, see? Yeah. It's like, come on. Yeah. Like, you got to be like in the time frame, because I can just say something now that could very well happen in 20 years, but I'm not going to go like, told you so. Those were pretty much out of the blue. And then, with the Pac, it was this long drawn out, process where they were trying to get this TV agreement and were remaining steadfast in belief that they were going to get it. And then time kept ticking and days kept passing and months were rolling up the calendar. Next thing you know, like, oh, there's actually a real deadline approaching, boys. Like, you got to get something done. And you could feel that heat turn up. And it was really getting hot about this time last year. And then we know what happened a few weeks later. Boom, Colorado's the first shoe to drop, and then others follow. And now here we are where the Pac is just Oregon State and Washington State at this point. So, this is different in that regard. I know there's been a lot of speculation about what could be like those others. Well, there's the prolonged battle right now is FSU and Clemson and trying to battle for the grant of rights and to get out of those. But, shockers, I mean, I certainly don't know what to predict there, but it's totally possible, I suppose.
I think the other story is not if that happens, because eventually that appears as whether it's in 2 or 3 years or whatever. It's what does that mean if it does happen?
Right.
That's where you set off the cycle of what we've seen the last 3 summers and fall.
And here's the thing, removing them from the equation, if you look at all the other conferences, I don't know, like I see it in the chat room every day. There are people that's convinced that A&M is going to go to the Big Ten.
Yeah,
they're not going to the Big Ten. No. They're in the SEC. You're not leaving the SEC.
I had a tweet about it,
leaving the SEC. If you get that invite into that fraternity, you go there, you take your lashings, and you enjoy it. You wear the letters. That's what they do. So, but everybody
that would be
else,
one of the most gutless moves in the history of sports, man.
No.
It would be the dumbest thing.
Literally, it's Texas joining the conference, but if they then all of a sudden say, okay, we're moving to the Big Ten, I'm going to say it. It would be chicken. You know what? It's like stay there and beat them.
Well, the thing is,
head to head,
it's not even remotely close to true.
No, first of all, it's just a bad rumor.
It's not even remotely close to
dumb.
True. Yeah, and the people who started it are just dumb too. But everybody else, look, the Big 12 is pretty happy with each other right now. They're pretty happy to have the league they are. Content is maybe the better. There's contentness across.
I think everybody's happy to be in a conference that is still considered autonomy 4.
Yeah, so they're content right now. The Big Ten very content. The SEC, they're happier than anybody could ever be because everything goes their way. The ACC. Again, outside of probably those 7 teams that were upset about it, the other teams were like, hell, we're content. We love it. So that's maybe a little bit different is that you have teams that are, conferences that are kind of set right now. Now that's going to morph again and college football is going to change again because it always does. But at least for the short term, I think everybody's content with what's going on and having to, better their situation from within and not, let's just add a team to add a team.
Okay, we need to break here. Wrap this up, Craig, if you want to, and then Barry Odum, UNLV, will join us at 3:30.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Big 12 schools are content. I also know all of them would be packing their bags in 5 seconds if they got an invite from one of the two big conferences. And so those are the two that really dictate. And if you want to go like the big, bad, evil TV networks, but, even above that, you can do that. But, yeah, I mean, it's not a matter of here's what Virginia Tech wants to do. Nobody cares right now. I'm sorry. But, like the ACC thing is its own thing, and that will determine a lot. But also, yeah, what would those two conferences possibly want? And that's valid. I mean, if the SEC decided that they wanted to go pluck away West Virginia for some reason, I don't say it that way to be disrespectful, but I don't think it would make a ton of sense, honestly. Then, that could further shake up things. But, beyond that, the fact that everybody would be open ears and say, yes, we would love to go get paid Big Ten money or SEC money, beyond just some random invite. I think that everybody in the Big 12, to what you said originally, is content with where they are. And if this is what it's going to be for a little while, I think they're all going to be okay with that.
Yeah, I think there's some that aren't. That doesn't mean they're not still keeping their eyes open, but I think everybody right now, they also know they need to be. They need to all as one together. And I think it's going to be fun, despite we know some of the angry rivalries of Utah, BYU, among some others. When we come back, Barry Odum, he was on with us back in February when we were here to cover the Super Bowl. Barry Odum, who's been at Missouri, among others. Mack Rhodes was there at Missouri when he was there. He's next. UNLV coming off a 9-win season, and his thoughts about where we are in college football. There's a lot to get to. Thank you very much for having the time to spend with us. We appreciate it. This is 365 Sports. Dr. Kent Petty and PettyClinicalOT.com can help you become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, and used to be. Dr. Petty has special interest in testosterone replacement therapy for low T and currently offering immediate same-day access for lab screening to help identify those men in need. Some of the symptoms of low T: fatigue, loss of energy, poor sexual performance, ED, loss of even sexual decreased muscle mass and strength, weight gain, excess body fat, depression, moodiness, poor sleep, insomnia, poor mental focus. Go to PettyClinicalOT.com, click on the email and or phone number, and get in touch with them and tell them I sent you. Dr. Petty will then set you up to get your blood work, get the results, and if your testosterone level is too low, he can put you in a program so you can become the high-performance man you want to be, need to be, used to be at PettyClinicalOT.com.
Make this the summer of Dodge at Allen Samuels in Waco. Drive away in a 2023 Dodge Charger or Challenger RT with $13,000 off MSRP, or the powerful Charger GT and save $10,000. Get a stunning 495 horsepower Scat Pack for an amazing $9,000 off MSRP. Plus, enjoy 90 days to make your first payment. That's 90 days with no payments. Hurry into Allen Samuels in Waco. Come by. Let's be friends.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved, learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
Let the journey to financial brilliance begin with Genco's limited time offers. Max your earnings with a Kasasa cash account and get paid monthly with a 4.25 APY. That's $425 annually. Then invest in a 13-month share certificate and earn 4.9 APY. That's $529. Earn cash and outshine the rest. At Genco, we offer you the sun and the moon. Kasasa based on average daily balance of $10,000. Certificate based on $10,000 investment. Emails.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
You can do that. The chat room is already full throttle. It has a heart that beats on its own. Appreciate everybody who's on with us, watching or listening. 365 Sports at 365 Sports YT on Twitter. A lot of you do that. And, of course, Sikkim 365 app. Barry Odum, head football coach at UNLV, joins us from the city where we are today and will be the next 3 days at Allegiant Stadium tomorrow, Wednesday, but at Lotus Broadcasting now. Barry, thanks for your time. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, David Smoke with you. 9-5 your first year. I know that coaches don't like to look at how we're going to win this many games. You probably never do that. But did you outperform what you thought, or is about what you thought?
Well, thanks for having me on today, guys. I sure hope that you enjoy your time in Vegas. It's one of the greatest cities in the world, and I know that there'll be some work involved, but hopefully you can get out and enjoy some of the sights and sounds as well. It's amazing how fast the first year got on us. You get the job and then everything happens full speed. You know that. And then you get into the season and really just pour into the process. And I know that's a boring answer, but our expectations when I got the job, I just asked the team and really our staff when we put that together. I said, I don't want UNLV to be judged on anything that has happened before we got there, good or bad. I didn't earn that either way, and I don't want that. I just want to be judged on what we do from the day we started until the 12 opportunities we get to go compete. And then if we do those things right, then we'll have a chance to play maybe for a conference championship and then postseason play. So, I thought we got better as the season went on. We sure didn't finish the way I'd wanted to, getting to the championship game and losing, and then we came up short in our bowl game. The learning experience for everybody in the organization. And I thought that, at the end of the year, you look back after you evaluate a number of things. I really thought we left a couple of wins out on the field. So that's what drives you to get back in the arena, continuing to build your team and your organization. And then our goal, and I said it from the first day I got it, there's no reason in the world we should not shoot to be in the expanded playoffs in college football. I think there's a place for that in our league. And if we schedule, which we have for this upcoming year, the right way to strength the schedule, and you win our conference championship game, I think that we should be in the conversation to have that opportunity.
Coach, in the era of the transfer portal, you have to rebuild rosters even faster. And, you had a quarterback situation that worked out for you last year. And then you have to reboot with that. People who follow the transfer portal in college football closely might have heard of Matthew Sluka, one of your new quarterbacks, but maybe most people haven't because he was at Holy Cross. This guy's responsible for like 1 million touchdowns in his career, isn't he?
Well, we're sure excited about Matt. He was able to start with us in June. So I think, from the time he started and stepped on campus, he really had a good grasp of the playbook anyway, because of the way that once he decided he was coming to school at our place, he was diving into the playbook and had a lot of virtual meetings. So, I think he was ahead of the game when he stepped on campus. Number one, understanding that he's a mature player. He's played a lot of ball. He's had a lot of success. And it's going to be a heck of a challenge this fall camp to try to figure out what, one of the greatest things about coaching is you build the team each year. And, we had a number of roster turnover when we got the job. Didn't know what that would look like in year two, but as the rules are today, we're going to be a heavy high school recruiting team. We've signed 48 high school prospects in the two signing classes since I've been there, but also the portal has been very, very good to us. And I don't want to lose anybody, but if we end up losing somebody, our charge as a staff is to go find somebody that wants to be at UNLV, and they're going to be a better player. We're going to try to upgrade every time that we've got an opening. And so far, we've had a chance to do that. And I'm thankful for the way our staff has approached that. And you can either, everybody likes the portal when it works out in your favor, and everybody is against it when you lose a player. I don't want to lose anybody, like I said, but I'm not going to sit around and worry about woe is me. If we do lose somebody, I'm going to go get somebody that I think is a better player, and we're going to find a way to make it attractive enough that they can come to our place and go win a championship.
Coach, a lot of us saw you shoot your shot with UConn head basketball coach Dan Hurley, trying to get him to maybe reconsider after he talked about how football might be, something could have been successful in. And in all seriousness, did you hear back from him? But also, the topic of that you brought up in your response to him as far as unlimited coaching and those types of things that are now part of the game of football. How do you sort of view the changes to coaching staffs, the opportunities you now have at your disposal? How are you guys looking to utilize those rules and take advantage of them as best you can?
Yeah, I think I've learned from coaches in all sports ever since I've been in coaching. I think there's a correlation of whether it's basketball or football or running track. I think there's ways and messages and lessons you can learn from everybody. And obviously Coach Hurley right now is one of the best in the business in any sport. And I haven't heard back, but I keep watching my phone really closely to see if he gets back to me. I think you got to adjust and adapt. And it's just like in my coaching experiences, you always learn from where you are, who you're around, your surroundings, and then you get the opportunity again, in this case, for me to be a head coach, and you go into it and you apply those lessons. And I know I look at it now, what I know now compared to what I did when I was the head coach at Missouri, I'm light years ahead of where I was then. You just learn from your experiences. You've got to make sure that you look in the mirror and you do a self-evaluation. You surround yourself with really great people, and then you adjust and adapt to the rules, because whether you like them or not, they're going to change. They'll be different next year when we talk than they are today. And if you're not on the cutting edge of that and find a way to give your kids and your team and your organization a chance to be the best and go compete for a championship, then you're going to get left behind. And that's with the portal, that's with transfers, that's with the finding ways to creatively make opportunities for coaches to help you on the field. All those things I've been able to embrace and finding a way to give ourselves what we think is an advantage.
Coach, for those that don't know, you're talking about if you face adversity or how you're resilient or how you bounce back or how you learn from something. You tore your ACL after playing your freshman year at Missouri, and that was in the spring, back when you just did not come back from that for like another year or so. And you played 12 games as a sophomore. What did you learn about yourself and life during that time?
Well, I learned a great deal about, there's a number of things with an injury. Number one, you better have, in that case, for me, a terrific orthopedic surgeon, and we did, Dr. Pat Smith. And then you better have somebody that would be with you every single day in the athletic training world, sports medicine world, that can put a plan together for you to follow. And we did that in Rex Sharp. And then you had to have a student athlete that was willing to make sure that they were, every single day we're going to pour into it what you needed to have success on the road to recovery. And fortunately for me, I was able to do that. So I think there's a multi-layer on what it takes for that to happen. I think there's some toughness that goes along with it. There's some blessings from above that also have to be a part of it. But there's got to be such a great plan and a connectiveness between the doctor, the trainer, and the student athlete for that to happen. So I think, life, it's going to be whatever you make of it. And whether it's fair or not fair, if we're blessed to wake up and have another day, then I'm not going to have any bad days. That's not going to happen. We're going to pour into it. We're going to pour into our team. We're going to pour into relationships. We're going to find a way to have a successful team. And then I think really, guys, at the end of the day, coaching, you've got to be in a position to be a mentor. And you're trying to help these young men develop into leaders once football is over, whether they're being the head of their household, running an organization, want to try to make a way and find a way for them to have a successful life, and then also for them to make society better. I was in Dallas last weekend for a wedding on one of my former players, and we probably had 40 former players there from all my different stops. And it was such a great, rewarding evening for me to be able to see those guys and reconnect with them. It's about relationships, and that was sure fun for me.
Coach, with the 12-team playoff now, there is an open door for UNLV to be in this. Now, it's going to be hard because unlike the other conferences, you have all the other non-P4 conferences to compete against with their conference champion and all that. But as a motivator, as a coach, as someone who has to set goals for a team at the end of the year, how much does it make it maybe not easier, but a lot more interesting that this is something that you can push to your players now, and you're not just kind of making something up to fire them up?
Yeah, I think you look at it right now for us, we've got a mature team. We've got an older team. We were a little bit younger last year in a lot of ways, but we're an older group. We understand the makeup of what college football is today. We understand the opportunities there. And then you look at our schedule, and obviously the winner of the Mountain West Conference historically has had a place at the table. And I think that will be the same thing this year. And then for us, non-conference wise, we open up at Houston. Week 3, we go to Kansas. We've got Syracuse coming to our place. Week 5, we go to Oregon State. So you look at those marquee matchups, and there's plenty of opportunity there. Certainly, it's challenging, but something that our kids are super excited about, having the opportunity to go compete. 11 of our 12 games are on national TV next year, and if we want eyes on us, we've got it. And now the work has got to continue to be put in every single day, and we have no room for error. We understand that. We got to go to work.
The city of Las Vegas is just continuing to boom as a sports capital of America in many ways now, which I know years ago would have been thought to be insanity to think that would be the case, but that's where we are now in today's world. We're here for the next couple of days, and there'll be various other media days in and out, but what is your pitch when it comes to the city of Las Vegas and recruits, and what do you personally, what have you found that you like most about the city of Las Vegas?
Well, you look at it, Vegas was built years and years ago on opportunity, and that's how the city was built. And you look around at how it's developed and will continue to thrive, not only economically, but in every area. It's become the sports mecca of the world, and there's plenty of space there for college football. So the things, our school is about 33,000 students. The hospitality school is number 1 in the world. We've got a terrific business school. There you can get a very, very meaningful degree with the networking and the connections built in that city that can take you anywhere. You look at the sports side of it, and you can be the main show in the city of Las Vegas of 2.5 million people. You're going to be on stage, and the things that we are building, our guys understand that, they embrace it, and understand that that's part of it. And we've got such great opportunity with that as we continue going into year 2 on building the championship organization. For myself and my family, my wife and I have been married 24 years. We've got 3 kids, and spread out about every age group. We've got a son that's a sophomore in high school. He plays linebacker at UNLV. We've got a rising senior quarterback in high school, and then we've got the boss of the family, who is our daughter that's going to be in the 4th grade. So we've been able to, the city of Vegas has been wonderful to us. When we moved there, a city of 2.5 million people and really didn't know anybody, has become much smaller, and the people have been so welcoming and outgoing and warm. to our family and our vision on building a championship program. It's been wonderful.
Does your 4th grade daughter watch you coach and get after players and then go, "Oh, please"?
Yeah,
She will know. I'd put her up against anybody in the world at that age on her knowledge of football. No question.
Do you have an underrated, maybe local restaurant or a place that perhaps not a lot of people know much about if they're not from here that you would suggest?
Yeah, I would. If you've got 2 meals, I would go to Ferraro's. It's an Italian restaurant there on Harmon and Paradise, and then I would go to Piero's, another Italian place. One of those 2 spots off the Strip. If you get a chance to, and you want one of the best steaks in the world, I'd go to Durango and hit Nico Steakhouse. Those 3, if you can get into any of those 3, those are 3 of the best, not only in the city, but in the world.
Thank you very much for your time. By the way, Mac Rhodes was going to be here. I know you and Mac are very tight from your time at Missouri, but he's going to stay in New Mexico. I think he's chilling. It's the first time this summer that he hasn't had some sort of chaos or crisis management in 3 summers. And so I don't know if you've been in touch with him or not, but I thought he was going to be in town. Didn't know if you knew that.
I talked to Mac a lot, and I have over the years, and got such great respect for him. What a terrific man he is, and family, and an unbelievable leader. And we've stayed in very close contact, and thankful that I've had him as a mentor, and what a special guy he is, and has had great success everywhere he's been. And he will continue doing that at Baylor.
Barry, thank you so much. We consider you a friend of the show. It's been great to have you on a couple of times already, from the Super Bowl week to this week, and look forward to having you on sometime during the season. Good luck. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great couple of days. Take
Barry
care.
Odum, the head football coach at UNLV. Paul Ferrero's on Harmon and Paradise.
Yeah.
Fiero's and Durango or Nico's Steakhouse.
Yeah, I think it's at the Durango.
Okay, all right.
Durango.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's right.
That's
actually
the one that's kind of offset.
Yeah. So
okay,
there we go. All right.
That's
good to know.
Hey, he didn't blink.
That.
He did not blink on that either.
I also liked the first 2 places you said were Italian.
Well, Italian.
Places.
Well, you'll have to go give him your thumbs up.
Here's the deal. We built this city. So, I mean,
you know a guy?
Yeah.
I mean,
you know, a good friend of mine who's a golf buddy, Pete Futris. He knows a guy. You know, he knows a guy from Chicago. He knows a guy. I enjoy what and I love the fact, you could be a group of 5 coach, and we've had others who have joined the show, and yet they have to keep one eye open because of the fact that God knows what's going to happen with this separation or not. But I love the fact that he's positive. He's worried about right now, what he controls now. Doesn't mean he's not looking into the future, but he seems to be a really good fit for UNLV or for pretty much almost any program.
Yeah, I mean, I think that UNLV's got themselves a good coach. I think a lot of others are probably interested in Barry Odum at some point, if not already as well. And, we'll see how that all plays out in the future. That's not a concern right now. His concern is getting the running Rebs ready for football season. By the way, it is a hot day today in Las Vegas. It is
120.
I don't know. I haven't checked in a while what the temperature is. Oh, we're at 109. So that's cool.
There's a very dead bush outside this window here that I keep waiting for it to go up in flames.
Yeah.
It's just so hot.
San Francisco Chronicle, Las Vegas breaks the all-time heat record. It's 120.
Yeah, well, I think 109 is the highest I've had on my phone. Although last summer in Texas, it got pretty up there consistently. But, so it's hot right now. But I think going back to just Barry Odum and kind of all the things he had to say, it's a hot market. And he's in a good spot. It's in the sports capital of the United States right now, and will be that way for the foreseeable future because of the fact that they still are going to continuously add more and more to Las Vegas's entertainment play when it comes to sports. Now that they've finally got all the handcuffs off and they're only a couple pro franchises away. I mean, they're getting the A's here in a few years. They'll have the NBA Summer League, but LeBron James has already said he wants to be a partial owner of when Las Vegas gets an NBA team when he retires. So that's going to be on the horizon at some point as well. And I think, for UNLV specifically, not only in the hot market, but during all of the Big 12 realignment, like the actual substantial real stuff that was going on when you had the tips about them looking around who they were sniffing out. UNLV was a team that got brought up quite a bit. It's just they were further back in the pack
the
than
Memphis,
a lot of
Boise,
others.
UNLV, a couple of those options. USF was also one of those early on, but they missed the party because some of them weren't ready yet. But yeah, UNLV might be somebody, without trying to say they're going to be added, but it's something at least you look at because of this city. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Greg,
I think you look at it at least. I also think that even if that's not necessarily in the cards because they don't quite fit the bill just yet, because let's face it, the pool's shrinking, not getting bigger.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They are, though. What I was getting at is in a very good spot. Does the Pac-12 want to rebuild? Guess who would probably get an invite?
Yeah.
UNLV, along with Boise State and San Diego State and whoever else. Yep. Does the Mountain West swallow them whole eventually? Guess who's in a good spot still? Is UNLV. So they're kind of – they're not in control of their destiny, but they're in control of what they can control. And I think that they've got some good things going for them right now. And he's the right coach at the right time to build that and keep them in the news and keep them winning football games. So I always enjoy talking to him.
Dundee's is an SEC guy. He has SEC logo next to his name. UNLV averages 23,000 a game. They need to get those numbers up. A lot of people do. SMU had the attendance, or Houston. That's part of the deal.
And it's also hard to do here because you are not the biggest show in town. You are like the 1,000th show in town.
It's a pro sports city.
Oh, yeah.
It's still a pro sports city that
way more of that now than it ever was. And I'm not saying that like they need to be on the lookout for I'm just saying like they're in a good spot where they're in a nice conference the way that it is, but it's also one that could potentially swing one way or the other, either absorbing or leaving, and I think they would be one of those teams that's in that mix to go to a new Pac-12 or whatever the case may be. So yeah, just keep chopping away. You do need to grow the fans, although it's easier said than done. I don't think they're getting a Big Ten invite or anything along those. I don't think they're getting a Big 12 invite, but I think if you just keep plugging away and Barry Odum remains your coach for a while, I think you're going to be in a good spot wherever that ends up.
Yeah, and look, they're resourcing it better now. I mean, we get tweets from Phil Venzer all the time about how things have changed, and look, there's money in this town.
Where the hell is Phil though? He hadn't called us yet.
He hasn't called us, but like, there's money in this town. Obviously, I mean, there's money in this town, so it's not going to be hard to like go find your NIL to keep on a level with your other people. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not you're not going like, who do we call like you would in some schools. Here, you don't really have that problem. You know how much money is there is in this town, and everybody who's been to this airport knows this.
As much as they want.
I have never waited longer than 15 minutes for a bag or the shuttle at this airport.
Because they want
my money
downtown,
and waiting for my bag takes too much money away from that I could be just throwing at them.
Yeah,
so,
I think that they rebounded nicely too. Just talking about the actual game itself.
There's Phil.
He's losing Jade Mayava to USC. That was a blow. They get Sluka though, and I think that was a nice pickup. That is going to be good for them. But, yeah, losing Mayava hurt. I didn't want to pull the scab off there too much. But I do think Sluka was a nice addition. And, yeah, let's see what they can do this year. I'm excited to see Barry Odum continue kind of a comeback. I guess it's not like a comeback from, the depths or anything like that. But, he was in a more high-profile spot just a couple years ago, and now he's chipping away and making some noise at UNLV. Let's see where he can take it.
Phil Venger with the chat room of just a bunch of the dollar signs. And Phil, we appreciate it. We're here.
If it was up to Phil, they'd be in a bigger conference. I know that much.
I don't know about everybody else in the room, but we all are on fumes a little bit. Not that anyone cares, but we have a flight at 6:15 this morning out of Austin. And our Airbnb is not available till after the show. They did let me go drop off some of the luggage, so at least we got that out of the car in the SUV. I got a second wind. I feel good now. I'll pass out at 4:30 Pacific time.
3:30 a.m. wake up call was not fun, especially when I'd only slept about 15 minutes.
Yeah, you guys,
about the time. Good. Craig, you're one of those that goes to bed well after midnight, right?
I actually got in bed like just prior to midnight. I was like, I'm going to watch the newest House of the Dragon, and I'm going to watch this, and I'm going to just turn off the lights, right? That's what you're supposed to do. And I did that, and I Laid in that freaking bed for 4 hours with 15 minutes of sleep.
Part of the problem was that was a very exciting episode.
Yeah,
and so it probably got you fired up a little bit. But Jack actually stayed at Hotel Amanda last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, with us. And because he said, I'm going to need a second, alarm that's a human being saying, hey,
that's
come
what
on.
a phone is for.
Well, I mean, he had that. He was up when I knocked on the door.
That doesn't always work.
Yeah.
Craig was up and out before me.
He didn't sleep.
I never went to sleep.
I'm just telling you, I was trying to compliment you on it.
No, we met Garrett this morning and picked him up at 3, just before 3, and headed on down 35.
I still think going to a hotel, even with the money, the cost was like $175 total with everything. At least you're there. So you kind of seem like you might get an extra hour or two. I'm not sure you really do.
You really like. I hearing Craig. His night was not different than mine and Jackson Garrett's.
No,
and he was right there.
I still would have been. I'm probably in a better mood than I would have been if I got up at like 11.
I got to tell you, you have been amazing.
And then had to do that whole thing.
You have been amazing since my text to everybody that here's what we have. This is what we're doing. Thanks to Alan Samuels, House of Travel. They took care of our entire trip, so we appreciate that. All right.
This just means we need a major airport in Waco, so we don't have to.
No, that would help. That would absolutely help. That's probably not going to happen, despite some of the growth. But that's just not
build
it
at TSTC. There's a big runway already there. It was an Air Force
Base, for God's sakes. They used to have the president.
Air Force One landed there.
Yeah.
You know who else can land there? Southwest. Let's do this.
I mentioned earlier about Cam Morgan from South Oak Cliff, a defensive lineman who committed to Baylor. They had a pretty good week, but there's a lot of schools. SMU continues to be hot. And there's maybe a chance they get hot tonight as well when it comes to the recruiting front. Eli Letterman, he works for ESPN. He's a national analyst when it comes to recruiting, but also with college football. He will join us next. We're in Vegas today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. This is 365 Sports. Bambi SQ, what is the number one reason or 2 or 3 reasons, Bambi, that people should contact House of Travel?
As a travel agency local here in Waco, we can take care of all your bookings, your payments, answer your questions, help you when there are issues or problems, things that may come up that you don't know what to do or how to fix them. People don't realize we don't charge a fee for what we do. It doesn't cost you extra to use a travel agent. We're just here. We get paid by the tour companies and the cruise lines to represent them. But you have an expert on your side that's here and local, and you have a name and a face to put together to help you with anything that you may need. Give us a call. We can price things for you. We can help you answer questions. We can make it simple, easy, and one stop.
Your knowledge of all the years you've done this and then spit it back to them or give them options?
Helps us to kind of know a date range, a budget, what your goals are and what you want to see and do on your vacation. And then that helps us to know what to look for, and we can narrow down and help you make the best choices for your vacation so you get the best value. You get exactly what you were hoping for, and making sure that it's taken care of with a carefree, easy, simple for you type vacation. So I've been doing this for over 40 years. Every day I learn something new. I experience new situations and things that I can help take care of for people, whether it's just making sure you get the best deals and find the best vacations, or whether it's to solve that problem, like you've got a flight that's being canceled and you don't know what to do. There's weather coming up. Should I cancel my trip next week because of the hurricane? Those are things that we take care of and you don't have to worry about. You've got somebody that you can rely on that you know is an expert, knows what we're doing, have been doing this for a long time, so that you're not questioning, okay, does the person on the other end of the phone really understand what I'm asking or know how to find those deals? You've got an expert, and we are here to take care of that.
For more information, go to houseoftravelwaco.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoke. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon wrap fillets, sirloin steaks, bone-in ribeyes, boneless ribeyes, and even prime rib. Cut specifically the way you want, the thickness that you want. They're all delicious. They have Norwegian salmon, mahi-mahi, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey, variety of cheese, and several options of sausage links, and even regular jalapeno or cheese snack sticks, fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, and ground beef, marinated beef or chicken fajitas, and always large briskets and tri-tip available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, a full-service butcher shop and bakery, open Monday through Saturday. The Bauer family, Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Carry On Solutions is a full-service IT management service provider and provides professional services for businesses servicing clients in the U.S. and globally. They are authorized partners with Microsoft, Quest, Veeam, NetApp, HP Enterprise, and Cisco Duo. Whether you are outsourcing IT services, merging companies, or wanting to tackle cybersecurity challenges, contact Carry On Solutions. We are IT. Call or email Dave at 832-437-0138 or sales at Carry On Solutions. That's CARRION Solutions.com.
Live from Las Vegas for Big 12 Media Days. This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Big 12 Media Day is also sponsored by IdealMRI.com, Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, Camille Johnson Realtors, Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Alliance Bank.
We have some amazing sponsors from the first day when we began 3 months ago. We appreciate everybody that's a part of what we do on an everyday basis. And then when we go do something even more special, which we hope we do every day in the studio, but also here at Big 12 Media Days in Las Vegas. We're now joined by Eli Letterman. He now works for ESPN. Talk about a comeback. He was working for a media outlet, and all of a sudden, poof, it was gone. Eli, proud of you, man. It's great. What was that like when ESPN called you and said, we want you to work for us?
Certainly exciting, and certainly in the circumstances of where I'd been before that. And but it's amazing how things change. Things come full circle. I started talking to you guys when I was working at the Tulsa World covering Oklahoma State just 3 years ago, and here we are now.
So I saw on your timeline on Twitter that you reposted what Ollie Gordon, the statement he put out. We discussed that off the top of the show, Big 12 Media Days tomorrow and Wednesday, and we wondered whether or not he would be here. And I thought he might. I think it's a Heisman Trophy candidate, come out in front of everybody in the media. Your thoughts about Ollie Gordon being there, being here this week in Las Vegas?
I guess I'd say impressed would actually probably be a word I'd use both in Ollie Gordon, who obviously made a terrible mistake, but, take it away from the college football context. When you're an adult, you got to own things like that. So impressed on him, and actually impressed with Oklahoma State as well, because anyone who's been around college football long enough knows that it doesn't take much for a program to do everything they can to keep one of their star players, even without anything else going on, away from the media. This would have been an opportunity certainly for Oklahoma State not to have Ollie Gordon out in front of the cameras and things like that. But knowing enough about how Ollie interacts with the media, and again the fact that I think this is sort of a mature move by all involved. I think it was the right thing, and hopefully, it's an opportunity for him to, speak about the experience and where he is now, because as you said, this is, a Heisman Trophy candidate, preseason Offensive Player of the Year in the conference. It's no small deal, and I think that was the right move.
Eli, you're covering recruiting now, which is even wilder than it used to be and tougher. This was a lot of big time commits. Kamarian Moore this weekend. Was it Riley Pettyjohn? Like all of that. And I know that it's early to say, but Texas was in on a lot of these guys and didn't get them. Was that kind of surprising that they had a rough weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's getting their licks. I mean, Ohio State, hard to feel too bad for them with the class they're putting together, but they were having a rough week until Riley Pettyjohn committed. But yeah, Texas, I think Zach Moore, there was a lot of optimism about that one happening for Texas, and he would have been huge. I mean, would have been the highest ranked commit of Steve Sarkisian's tenure, would have been the highest ranked commit, at least according to our rankings at ESPN, since Jonathan Gray in 2012. And so it's a miss. They're still assembling quite, an impressive class there. And I think everything Steve Sarkisian's been doing has only been moving them upward. But, those are the misses that at the very least, when the rankings come out at the end of the year, maybe the difference between, whether it's top 5, top 10, top 15. But at the same time, we all know that those rankings only go so far when it comes time to playing football in a few years.
Eli, another big commitment last week. Ty Hawkins flipping from TCU to SMU, 4-star quarterback. Down in Texas, people just for the last 30 years have not really cared about SMU for the most part. They got hit with a death penalty and faded, and now they are in the ACC, and they are going to be able to, swing the wallet around and go and make big time pushes in this era. What do you make of what SMU's been able to do as far as making some noise, and how much noise do you think they're capable of making when all is said and done?
Yeah, well, this is why you go to the SEC. It's why you get your money organized. This is, SMU is back because this is what I think what a lot of people expected, whether it had been these guys this summer, but, a school that we know has the financial base and now the standing, in a Power 4 conference to do this stuff. And, Ty Hawkins is huge. I know TCU was really excited about him, kind of, maybe worried at some point that a bigger program would realize what they did about him and his talent. The fact that it was a crosstown rival, that can't feel good. And maybe that's an introduction into, a new world that everyone's living in DFW, but a huge weekend for SMU. And it wasn't just him. Jermod Odum was huge. Jalen Cooper, they've made their class has transformed in really the last, week or so. And that might be the new reality now at SMU.
Baylor got a kid from the wide receiver from Shadow Creek, who's a highly ranked player, was a quarterback there. They just got Cam Morgan, from South Oak Cliff, which is kind of against some of the big boy names. Do you see them turning the corner? Are they kind of now have things right, even though they still have work to do to kind of play catch up?
Yes, I mean, it's work to do. You mentioned Kamarian Morgan. That's a big get for them. And he's, right now the top guy in their class. That's huge. We know it's Dave Aranda. This is it's going to, a lot of it's going to be about what he does on the field this year next. So, the class he's signing right now may not be the thing that determines the direction of the program. But I think that is, a signing like, an ESPN 300 commit like Kamarian Morgan, that is a step in the right direction toward getting them back where they've got to go. But, a July win is not going to help them in the fall. And, for all we know, not projecting too far out, but if things don't get right on the field, right, who knows where this class will be come December.
What team in the Big 12 in particular has surprised you with their prowess so far?
That's a good question. I think, TCU really has, but, with Ty Hawkins at the top of it, had a really impressive class. I think, it's hard. Yeah, it's been impressive, but it's hard not to keep your eye on Colorado and see what they're not doing in terms of recruiting and some of the misses they've had. But I think on the whole, and maybe I promise I'm not steering clear of your question, but I think the Big 12, and as fascinating as it should be on the field, where I think in any given year, we're really not going to know who's the cream of the crop there, and it's probably what's going to make it so fun. I think recruiting wise, it's the same because these schools, by and large, are sort of maybe a tier or two down in terms of recruiting from the very, very top, and they may get picked off at times, but they're going to be recruiting kind of on those margins to where hitting right, and that means for every program in the country, using your money wisely, all of that is going to be so crucial across the Big 12. So the same way I'm excited to watch that league on Saturdays, I think it's been really fun to watch the recruiting in this conference because it's you're not necessarily talking about all the 5 stars Alabama's going after, but they're all swimming in the same pools, and it's mightily competitive.
So Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, etc., teams that have done well, teams that are highly ranked, teams that will be at the end. And even if a team or two, like if Texas has missed out, they'll eventually get pretty much not everything they want, but they'll be right there in the mix. A&M, Oklahoma. Then I saw when it came to the team rankings, Rutgers. What's going on with them?
It's pretty unbelievable. They're on pace right now. I mean, you're talking again different kind of recruiting than Alabama and Georgia are getting up to, but they've got more 4 stars in their class than I think they've had combined in the last 15 years. And it's at least worth noting only because we always talk about Rutgers, right? It's the complete afterthought in the Big Ten. The school that doesn't fit in, even less so now when you've got USC, Oregon, Washington kicking around there. But they're making moves. And again, you got to credit some of that to NIL, but a lot of it goes also to Greg Schiano and his staff and what they've done. A lot of the guys they're keeping home are in-state guys, and it's an impressive in-state recruiting effort. They've got to get it to signing day. I think that's kind of the caveat. It's a caveat for everybody, but I think especially there when you consider some talented guys who had offers to go what we would all call bigger and better places. But if they can land that plane, it's a pretty tremendous recruiting effort by that staff.
Eli Letterman with us, ESPN.com on recruiting and much more. So let's get into football. We're here in Vegas, as you know, for Big 12 Media Days tomorrow and also on Wednesday. What are your thoughts about this? The 4 new teams coming in from the Pac-12, Texas, Oklahoma are gone, and what this conference might end up being.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun, both in the near term and the long term. This year, who comes in to compete off the bat? You might look at Utah probably as that team. I think Arizona's going to struggle a bit picking up the pieces after Jed Fish, even if a lot of the talent's still there. Colorado's going to be probably the most fascinating story in the conference, for better or worse. The newcomers are going to be really fun, and I do think the dynamics are going to change. And it's simply, even just from a fan perspective, or people who work in the line I do, new locations. I mean, it was cool last year going to BYU and having UCF in Norman and things like that. And as you introduce these new schools, I think new rivalries will bud. I mentioned, these are teams that are competing in the recruiting trail as well. So I'm excited about this conference. It may, if it's going to be the third conference, across the country behind the SEC and the Big Ten and that whole consideration, I do think it's going to be one of the most fun because I just think, as always, anything can happen in the Big 12, and that's only more true now with 16 teams in it.
Eli, though, the question remains, say they've got a 10-2 team and a 9-3 team, and both those teams are really good. Unfortunately, probably at least this year and maybe next, they're not getting that second team in, no matter what the records are of the teams around them, because they're looked down upon compared to the SEC and Big Ten.
Yeah, and there's probably parts of that are not fair, and it's always been the case maybe of the Big 12. And then there's other pieces where I think, top to bottom, this league, at least this year, is not going to be so deep that, that 9-3 team, for instance, has 3 really good losses or some really standout wins. They might be really good teams. Anyone who watches the Big 12 knows are no joke. Been that way the past few years. It seems like that not everyone gets the respect they deserve. But we've watched the committee work enough, and if you assume that it sort of is going to stick that way, then yeah, it would be hard to imagine that a 9-3 Big 12 team whose biggest wins are maybe one of the other top teams in the conference, but not stacking 4 or 5 ranked wins. Just you might not be able to do that in the Big 12. It may be hard to get in at 9-3.
Eli, congratulations on the opportunity at ESPN. Keep it up. Thanks for your time. We'll be in touch. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of the week.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Eli Letterman, ESPN.com. Brandon Marcello with this nugget. Utah and Miami will open the 2027 season, the Vegas Kickoff Classic inside Allegiant Stadium. It will be the first meeting ever between those two programs. There's a Big 12 team and Miami to open up 2027 here in Vegas.
You didn't commit to Miami in a conference in 2027?
I was going to say some people are already
I guess it'll be a Big 12 game. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like that. It's like that Utah Baylor game this year is a non-conference game. There's another game like that, like Arizona, Kansas, or some. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I don't know. Utah of the Big 12 and Miami. That way, in 2, 3, 4, or 5 or 10 years,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just 3 years from now. So
no, I don't.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. 2027 to me that's the drop dead year on Mario Cristobal, because I think they're going to give him a lot of time, because
if he doesn't learn how to kneel,
exactly. But they're going to give him a lot of time to get it right, because they really ran a beautiful ship into the rocks in Miami, and ran it into the rocks, said, "Oh, hey, it's still floating," and then ran it into the rocks again. And so they're giving them some time to figure it out and fundraise and get the facilities they need and all those things done there. But 2027, if he hasn't done something special by then, I think that's when they're going to say, like, all right, thanks for helping us get back to, financially viable and a program that people notice. But, we want someone who's going to get dubs.
Yeah, I mean, initially my first thoughts are that's a great non-con matchup. I mean, that's two teams who I don't think of putting together, but that's what the non-con is for, is to put two teams like that together and have them duke it out. So, yeah, I think that could be a slobber knocker, although 3 years away. There are a lot of unanswered questions, and I think Miami's one of those schools that I do find it quite interesting of when you get into the conversation, as exhausting as the conversation can be when it's just kind of on repeat mode for a while. If you do go and just take the angle of where does Miami fit in the future, it's way murkier than maybe I would have thought like a couple of years ago, or certainly when I was younger, because it's not just like, oh yeah, they'd be right there hip to hip with Florida State. It's like, no, they wouldn't. Not necessarily. No, that's not the case. So, yeah, I mean, who the heck knows where anybody is? I don't know where I'll be in 2027. Yeah. Like, even though that's only 3 years away. But, that's a nice little non-con on paper. I wonder how drastically different the details could look when that rolls around. But kudos to them. And, hey, it's something we can actually talk about being, somewhat soon. It's not like it's 2037. And bound to get canceled at some point in time before then, because it's so far out and things change so much in a long time period like that. So, yeah, I like that announcement.
By the way, thinking about everybody down in the Gulf Coast with Hurricane Beryl that has barreled into the state of Texas down near Houston. Our good friend John McClain was going to take a vacation. That's been canceled because of the weather, and that usually then goes right up through the border of Texas and Louisiana. We've seen that before. So everyone, we're thinking about you that's having to deal with the bad weather up and or down in the area of the Golden Triangle and in Louisiana. When we come back, we're not done. We have much more to get to. We will also hear from Andy Staples later today at 5:30 from On3.com and just everything college football. Garrett Ross, Emery Winter, and Jack McKenzie behind the scenes are with us as we broadcast live today from Vegas. Somebody mentioned, are you guys like inside of a hotel room? We're inside Lotus Broadcasting, and we have a great setup here today in what is like almost like a vice presidential type office with plenty of space, which we need because of the cameras. And
Lotus Broadcasting, that's all the sports stations here in Las Vegas for the Raiders flagship and all that jazz. So, we have a nice spot that otherwise I don't know what we would be doing because
we would not be on.
We wouldn't be able to have a show if not for this setup. So, yeah, it's a one-day only thing. We'll be at Legion Stadium tomorrow and Wednesday. But, Lotus Broadcasting, shout out to them for sure.
I had to record an interview for a station in Memphis before the show started, and I went to one of the empty studios to record it, and there was the automation system, and I started having flashbacks, and it was all I could do not to mess with it.
Oh yeah.
Just force of habit. I was like, walked. I was like, well, that didn't look good. Let's move this around, like what I used to do. And then I was like, well, wait, I probably don't even know how to work this anymore. Like I'd wreck it before I figured it out again, because it's been almost 5 years since I've touched that thing.
It's been a while. By the way, Mark Daniels, voice of UCF Athletics, I saw him roaming the streets of Vegas, not after midnight, but he's doing some cut-ins from the city. He's here, of course, along with many others. Big 12 Media Days will start tomorrow at Allegiant Stadium. This is 365 Sports. It's the heat of summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or oven. Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go out and eat? Be your own chef. Custom ordered, cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips. Focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Fresh seafood, salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, live lobsters, and great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every meal or occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pastas, fresh baked bread, buns and chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal, and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine. The best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, here for you in the community, helping avoid the long lines and crowded stores. Serving quality local products to the Waco community and beyond. Go online for more of the weekly values on their Facebook page. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Cars priced right, day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive in North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive in North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
Live from Las Vegas for Big 12 Media Days. This This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Our coverage of Big 12 Media Days is presented by Alan Samuels House of Travel. Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
We're about 15 or 20 minutes from downtown as far as where we stay, our Airbnb, thanks to Alan Samuels House of Travel, Bambi Eskew and staff. We appreciate them. Baylor's, they went through a lull. And even Grayson wrote a story about it in Sikkim365.com in the premium section that they needed some sort of adrenaline rush, and they got it. And Ja'Cory Watson, the former quarterback, a wide receiver at Shadow Creek, and then yesterday, Kamarian Morgan of South Oak Cliff, who's a highly ranked player. And I thought Grayson said it's the 10th highest rated player Baylor's ever gotten a commitment from. Whether that's based on whoever you want to believe as far as the rankings, but that's a nice hit. They deluged Twitter timeline yesterday with this shirt that said Resurgence, which is a 2 for R, and 5 is also included for the class of 2025. This is a nice pickup for them. The question is, keep them until they get to December.
Yeah, and you left out Jackson Blackwell from Lorena, who they also picked up in the last week as well. So they've had a trifecta of pledges that have created some excitement, and there hasn't been a lot of that when it comes to the recruiting side of things. So, yeah, Kamarian Morgan, 4-star, now committed and had a boatload of big offers. This wasn't like you beat out La Tech and you beat out SFA and you beat out UTEP. I mean, this was you beat out a lot of big-time programs who were hoping to land Kamarian Morgan. So he keeps the train on rolling. And to your point about the rating, I believe I saw it where he's obviously the highest rated player in this class for them, but the highest rated defensive player that they've had. Where did that go? I just had that a second ago. 9th highest rated all-time commit. I thought it was just for defense, but it's 9th highest rated all-time commit. Based on the source, I think that's probably from 247. So as you said, it can kind of differ, I guess, if you were to look at Rivals' old rankings. Although I don't really hear people cite them very much modern times as much.
There's some that are like blasting it out probably better when it comes to on social media, promoting themselves. But yeah, there's still the Rivals and 247 on 3, et cetera.
They've been around long enough to have a history. I mean, I know they can go back and use information from other sites. So yeah, I think that's just from 247's history. But regardless, those are going to be similar to what those others would have been. Same place, same time. And he's a top all-time commit for them. So that's big. And I mentioned the offer list, and he had Oregon, Georgia, Florida, USC, TCU, Texas, Tennessee, Auburn, 4-star across the board, top 100 guy. So and guy coming off the edge. So you love seeing Dave Aranda get big time defensive prospects, and you just hope that he can, again, hold on to them and then actually utilize them, much like when you look around on this defense from last year and then heading into this year and the Caden Jenkins type players. Like, if you can hold on to those guys and build them, there's some optimism out there somewhere that you can find pretty easily. But, the name of the game is keeping him. He's able to keep Caden Jenkins for a second season. We'll see how he builds off that. But you keep adding Kamarian Morgan type players, and you're going to be winning some football games.
Well, the biggest question, to me, for this team is, are the big guys who block and tackle going to do that well enough? And talking about the defense in particular, when you get a guy like Morgan who is off the edge and lethal like that, I think that it's incumbent upon Dave Aranda to find those guys where he has in the past. But right now, from what I know about the front seven coming back from last year, I got to wait and see, have they gotten better, because they weren't good in any of that last year. And that was a huge spot that was, to me, kind of surprising.
Well, they
weren't good at.
The 2021 team was packed with what they had up front. And obviously they have not followed up with that. And then, of course, they had some retirement players with injuries that forced them out of the game. It's still, again, a young man that can't help until 2025. But it brought some smoke. It brought a lot of attention. And Keenan Hall, Dallas Baker, Matthew Pallett, some of those coaches that have been in that area. And that's a nice one. And when I saw him and he committed to Baylor, it caught my attention a little bit more. And I think the young man from Lorena, Blackwell, who we had on the show, will be projected much higher before it's all said and done. Plus, as we mentioned, Ja'Cory Watson from Shadow Creek. So it's just the beginning.
I saw somebody make the comment about Baylor landing some big prospects makes the state of Texas more interesting, because then, like they're playing up to their level of ball, and then, TC is doing their thing and Texas Tech's doing their thing, and obviously A&M and UT are doing their things. But Houston's already had a really good run so far in 2025. So Baylor was the kind of, I guess, lone team out there that you were. SMU's obviously doing really well. There's the lone team out there that you're kind of like, where are they in the big picture? And now the last week or so, they've made a few waves, and they're getting very involved and beating a lot of those teams that I just mentioned for prospects. So it definitely makes it more interesting and definitely gets you a bit more excited about the possibilities and what they can continue building. But a lot is going to come down to this year. But the recruiting class, I looked at it earlier, and I don't know if this has been adjusted here recently. That's their third 4-star, I think. So that's got them, right there alongside Tech and Houston and some of those schools. So they're in good shape as so long as they keep building and they keep the guys that they have.
And the unknown of who they are when it comes to the season. I had somebody tell me within the football program, he goes, we got some stuff coming for the fall. And now, whether that's wins or not, that remains to be seen. And obviously they need that after the last couple of years. So disappointing the way that finished 22. And then the way last year they just never even got started. Here is Grayson Grunhafer with Kamarian Morgan of South Oak Cliff, his commitment to Baylor.
This is Grayson Grunhafer with Sikkim365.com, and I am here with South Oak Cliff 2025 Edge, Kamarian Morgan, and the latest Baylor commit, Kamarian Morgan. Man, congratulations. You just committed to Baylor. What's this day mean to you?
It means a lot. They showed real love from the beginning. It was my very first offer. And, they stayed with me during the process, made sure I was all right, made sure the family was good. And I truly believe in the vision that Baylor has coming into the next seasons.
Man, that's awesome. What kind of led you to this point where you decided, go ahead and make this decision in July? Because I know you were talking about maybe waiting a little bit longer.
Yeah, I wanted to just focus on my season going into my senior year. I wanted to go ahead and get it out the way, so that factored mainly into that.
So I do have to ask you about this because, this is a big deal, man. You're a top 10 commit of all time in Baylor history, like ranking-wise. How special is that for you just to kind of be, kind of the face of Baylor recruiting over the last, 8 years or so?
It's very special to me, you coming somewhere and, being the highest recruiter they've ever got, but it really doesn't mean much because I feel like I'm just here to come and play ball, make an impact, help things change around. The players, they're very hungry and they want to go win again. So that's what I want to be a part of.
Right. Do you think this kind of maybe opens up the door a little bit as far as, Baylor landing other, high profile prospects just because, it's shown now, a top 100 guy, has decided, to go to Baylor?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like coming to Baylor definitely opened up for other top guys because you can go to Baylor and do the same thing you can go do anywhere. You can get to the league, you can get developed. The people are amazing. Place is nice. It's like no other.
So after your official visit, it kind of goes in line with what we just kind of talked about, but you told me that a big pitch that the staff told you was they want you to be the face of the 2025 class and that made your day kind of on the visit. What does that mean to you now that you are committed and you truly are going to be, the face of this 2025 class for the Bears?
It means a lot, that just brings on big responsibilities, just coming in, being the face of the class and just helping get other guys to come in and commit down the road. It's just a great feeling just knowing that.
Is that something you want to do? Like you want to go out and recruit other guys?
Definitely. I want to definitely, I feel like Texas got the best talent, so I want to, come to Baylor, great things happening over there.
So as far as Baylor goes, just your recruitment with Baylor, I know they've been recruiting you for a long time, but, in all honesty, it kind of all picked up in January when Keenan Hall, got hired at Baylor. It felt like your kind of interest in the program went up to another level. What do you kind of remember about that period in January where you came for the junior day and then how that just kind of interest expanded with Keenan Hall and just getting to know the coaches more?
Yeah, with Keenan, that's like family. He went to school with my pops and my uncle. So with him going there, they just opened up, just more access and seeing what the place is really like, seeing how people are really treated there. And he just opened up our eyes way more to what Baylor really is.
Yeah, so I would say kind of this year at least, everyone kind of knows Baylor needs to perform well for the staff to stay there. What made you feel confident kind of in the program and just that they're going to get things fixed this year to make sure the staff stays and that, things are smooth when you get there?
What made me so confident was the staff, they have a plan. They have a great plan, and the players they're very bought in. Like they're really hungry to win. And Coach Aranda, he done did great things. He never had a poor defense, so I feel like that's amazing for me.
What can you talk a little bit just about their vision or what they've told you, kind of their game plan over the next year or so to get back to where they were?
Really, so just getting more guys like me in, and that they were young, so just building their guys up, getting their IQ better, bigger, faster, stronger, just time. It was just time. Mainly, they were just preaching like it's about to be time.
And I know when you were on your visit to Baylor, you talked a little bit about Keenan Hall, but something that you really kind of, I feel like mentioned a ton, and it was really important to you was just the people at Baylor and whether that was the coaches or the staff or just the vibe, the family vibe. Can you kind of talk about the people at Baylor and why they're just so special?
The people, the staff, the people that live there, they show real love. Like, some people they try to just put a smile on their face, but like they actually show that they're like they care for you, that they're there for you, that you're needed. Their whole thing is person over player. So that really caught my attention.
And you mentioned a little bit your family connection to me before we started recording. Can you kind of talk about that family connection, how that maybe played a role in your commitment a little bit?
Yeah, my uncle Jameson Morgan, he actually attended Baylor. I don't remember what year, but he played basketball for them. And just talking to him, and he said Baylor's a great place. He got a degree there, graduated, so that's just awesome.
Is that cool to kind of have that family connection, that family, even more family vibe to it at Baylor?
Definitely, definitely.
I know that kind of your recruitment's been a rather interesting one. You have offers from kind of everywhere. And I know it's hard to go visit all those places, but you took some official visits and really kind of did your homework on figuring out where you wanted to go.
Yeah.
Did you kind of on these official visits, did you ever feel like you were going to end up somewhere other than Baylor?
Really, during my process, I really never knew until the end, because it was just pretty much just hearing the same thing. Pretty much, we have nice facilities. We're going to get you to school. We're going to get you to the NFL. We're going to develop you. But it's just the real love is where you go.
Right. And all those other programs that you recruited you, I mean, did you ever, I guess just, Baylor's kind of, I feel like doesn't have some of the, allure that maybe some of the other schools do that are bigger name programs, at least right now. Did you ever feel like you were getting swayed to go to the bigger schools or the more high profile schools at all? Did that ever come to your mind?
What do you mean by that? Like being swayed to going there?
No, just kind of when you're going through the process and looking at different schools and looking at the SEC or looking at the Big Ten, like did any of those factors kind of play a role in this when you ultimately just decided, Baylor was the best fit for you?
Oh no, not really. But the SEC schools definitely tried to pitch. We're SEC. This is the best of the best. You're going to go against the best of the best. But I feel like when going in, everybody's big, everybody's strong, everybody knows football, so the better man gonna win.
Definitely. So as far as the Baylor side, even more, how much of a role did Dave Aranda play in your recruitment and just kind of what were your conversations like with him?
He played a real big role. Coach Aranda is very genuine, and he like really cares about the person. Like you could talk to him all day about just anything, literally just anything that you think of, and he relates to you and understands. And for him, it's bigger than football.
Yeah, and he was your first call when you decided to commit to Baylor last week. What was that conversation like, and just kind of what did he tell you, and how excited was he for you to, ultimately tell him you're going to be a Bear?
He was very excited, that I was staying home. And like he said, we were going to be making it real hard for these offenses. Very hard.
There you go. And he's taken over defensive coordinator duties as well. He's really kind of putting a huge emphasis on that. How appealing is that for you?
That's amazing because I've seen where he did it everywhere he's been. So I know it's going to be special.
Right. And kind of in line with that, he's coached a lot of NFL guys at your position
Mhm.
as far as pass rushers go. Do you feel really confident that he can get you where you want to go?
Definitely. I feel like he can develop me to get to the next level. Easy.
Okay. And kind of tying in line with that with Caleb Collins, I know he played another big role in your recruitment. It was kind of a full staff effort here.
Mhm.
What did Caleb Collins talk to you about as far as how they want to utilize your specific skill set?
He said I'm gonna be utilized literally at all times on the field. Like if he feels this is a mismatch on this side, let's get you going over there. Basically, he's saying he don't want me to be a bullet taker. He want us to be attacking.
Right. And as far as like your fit on in this Baylor defense, or do you kind of view it early on it's going to be more of pass rushing, run stopping, or do you feel like you're kind of already there to drop into coverage or do different things that maybe an outside linebacker would be asked to do?
Yeah, I feel like everything that the outside linebacker would be asked to do. When I was going through how I would play into the defense, coach was breaking down. I'd be rushing the passer, stopping the run, dropping back in coverage, pretty much just doing everything.
Do you feel like that fits your skill set, kind of doing multiple things instead of just, one specific thing?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that really lets you show your athleticism and not be a robot.
Absolutely. So I think, can you tell me a little bit about kind of where your height and weight is at and your wingspan? I've heard some stuff that your wingspan is over 80 inches long. Do you know kind of where you're at there measurements wise?
I think it was 82 to be exact when I went down to Baylor to get measurements. But yeah, I was 6'4" and a half, 220 pounds when I was weighed in. So
Like 82-inch wingspan, man. That's crazy.
yeah, definitely.
As far as this past season, I mean, I know you had a breakout year kind of at Red Oak. I felt like, you took another jump this past season. Now you're moving over to South Oak Cliff. What's kind of your goal this summer and then going into the fall? What are the goals that you've set for yourself?
My goal is just to get bigger, faster, and stronger. I feel like if I do that, it's just nothing that can stop me. Like I feel like my IQ for the game is high. I know I really study the game. So if I get bigger, faster, and stronger, it's nothing the opponent be able to do with me.
That's great. I know, you're kind of moving forward into this time period. Are you planning on early enrolling? Do you know that far in advance right now?
Yeah, I'm planning on early enrolling.
Okay, so you're going to be at Baylor in January then.
Yes, sir.
Wow. What's kind of the staff been telling you about, they want you on campus, but are they expecting you to come right in and play a big role next season during your freshman year? Is that what you want?
Yeah, definitely. That's what the staff has been communicating me with, like instant impact when I come in as a true freshman.
Okay. Are there little like markers that you feel like you need to get to in order to play next year, like a weight that you need to get to or an area you have to work on to get to the point where you're playing as a freshman?
Yeah, with me, I feel like with this being my last year playing basketball and I'll be able to mainly just focus on football, I'll just be getting way bigger. I feel like me just getting bigger, that'll just set me up to play instantly.
And this past year at Baylor, there were a lot of freshmen that played.
Mhm.
And I think the staff, a lot of staffs tell guys like, yeah, you're going to play as a freshman. Do you feel like Baylor really means it and kind of showed it this past season that they're willing to put the best player out there?
Yeah, definitely. They definitely showed that when we was going through meetings, going through the roster, the breakdown, they showed that I'll be able to come in and play.
And that's awesome. So as far as this day and the significance it holds for you, what does it mean to you to kind of not just commit to Baylor, but end your recruitment, just kind of, focus on, just playing football? What does it mean to you?
That means a lot because now it's a lot of stress off me. I just committed somewhere I feel home. So just being able to focus on my senior year and focus on getting my body and mind right, it just feels amazing.
when you told your family your decision to commit to Baylor, what was that conversation like? How excited were they? What did they say?
They were very excited. It seemed like they wanted me to go to Baylor from the jump. So yeah, they love all the people and like how they felt, like real vibes when they went out there.
And then I know you also called Keenan Hall as well, who was a big part of your recruitment. What did Keenan Hall say when you decided that Baylor was the place for you? I know he's made you a priority since he got to Baylor.
Yeah, he said it's go time. It's time to come in and do real damage. So he was very excited though.
Awesome. If you had just, I guess, a sentence to describe, what Baylor's getting from Kamarian Morgan as far as a player, a person, what would you tell people kind of about yourself?
They're getting somebody that's locked into the program, willing to do whatever to change the program, to get us to new heights, break anything, break records. It's time.
Awesome, man. Well, Kamarian, congratulations, man. This is awesome. I know this is a huge day in Baylor recruiting history and a great day for you. So congrats, man, on making your commitment to Baylor.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco, kicking off July with some smoking hot deals, like a 2023 Chevrolet Suburban High Country 4-wheel drive for $68,885 and 45 cents. 2020 Jeep Rubicon. These are pre-owned cars that are marvelous. Officially trail rated to go anywhere, do anything with leather seats for only $41,785. How about the 2022 Dodge Charger SRT, 8 wide body with 4,000 miles on it, $87,750. Speed you want? How about this 2020 Chevrolet Camaro SS convertible, 1 owner car for $36,250. Or they just traded for a smoking hot Ford Mustang Mach 1. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. If you want pre-owned and you want speed, come and look at what they have. The last Dodge Challenger Hellcats left in captivity. Ted Teague, the CEO and general manager, a great staff. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. Samantha Duvall, TexasBeefHouse.com with me, David Smoke. And tell you what, you guys keep rolling along. You do have yet another date, correct, for an online and live auction?
Yes, our next online and live auction will be Thursday, April 25th.
We've discussed how this has been unique and how people have reacted to it. Has that momentum continued as you've done more?
Yes, it's kind of half and half. We'll have a good amount of people there.
But that's not all you do at Boozer Jewelers.
Absolutely. And I always like to say, it's a new year. It's a great way to start the year out. Go through your old jewelry. Go through your wife's jewelry box. Go through anything you're maybe not wearing, something that's broken, something that you're not using. We do a massive amount of custom work. We can take your old jewelry, old diamonds, old watches, and we can convert it into something special for you and make a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry. And if that's not something you're interested in, a great thing is we can turn that into cash. So we buy gold, we buy diamonds, we'll buy Rolex watches, any kind of heirloom jewelry, anything that's maybe passed down to you.
Boozer Jewelers, where do they find you, Brad?
We're at 1025 North Valley Mills Drive, right on the corner of Lake Air Drive and Valley Mills with the big clock on the corner.
live from Las Vegas for Big 12 Media Days. This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Big 12 Media Day is also sponsored by IdealMRI.com, Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, Camille Johnson Realtors, Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Alliance Bank.
We are back in Vegas at Lotus Broadcasting inside their building with a bunch of radio stations, and we appreciate their hospitality tomorrow inside Allegiant Stadium on Tuesday and Wednesday. So Brett Yormark, of course, will have some opening comments, and those have always been like, well, he was first introduced during the Bob Bowlesby transition. And anytime he says anything about the future, open for business, people just immediately, because of the last couple of years, think about realignment or adding teams. But you think that they'll announce somebody tomorrow as a title sponsor of the Big 12? It's too early for that? Too quick?
I mean, if it's already done, there's no reason not to. But I don't know. I mean, I would say 50-50 on that.
I would wonder if that would have been already like leaked or something. But
I mean, it's already essentially been leaked as All-State. So
yeah, well,
unless there's somebody else.
The thing, yes, they've already said that. I mean, that's basically the partners they were working with, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking about officially announce it tomorrow as the name of the conference, and whether they do or not, it will not keep me up tonight wondering about it. Or I was just curious about, other than what we've seen from him the last 2 or 3 summers, and knowing that college football is constantly in flux, that was something that was new as far as naming a brand name for the conference. Really, what else is on the table? Other than speculation, but what else is on the table for him to possibly announce that's just a little bit new tomorrow?
I don't know. I mean, outside of the naming rights, I don't really know. I mean, like TV deals are done.
Wouldn't it be nice just to have him talk about the conference and here we go?
And look, I'll tell you, I listened to his conference promotion thing last year, and it was kind of for Brett Yormark, it wasn't his.
Last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, last year I thought it was somewhat of a dud.
Because, I think also, I mean, clearly not like he woke up one morning and all those 4 schools were calling him going, hey, have you ever considered us? He knew that was very strongly going to happen, a couple weeks after media days, but he couldn't sit there and be like, yeah, I've been talking to Arizona every day, so yeah, maybe I think this probably going to be more of a focus on the now. So
yeah, I mean, they've introduced 8 schools in the last 2 years.
That's a
4 school. He hasn't talked about Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado. I mean, as far as this platform goes, he's talked about it in statements here and there, but I think there would be a ushering of them. And, quite frankly, anybody hoping for a realignment earthquake, I mean, it would be that, because it would be totally unforeseen, because in order for that to happen, it would have to be something that has barely, if at all, been speculated on, and there's nothing big enough to make that make any sense whatsoever, or to expect that. And the other alternative is everybody fantasy booking, well, once FSU, who does he's not going to do any of that, and none of those teams are leaving before that other thing's resolved, so that's not going to be it either. So I think sponsorships, maybe whatever the patch ends up looking like on the jerseys, because they're talking about tinkering with the logo, so I could see the logo maybe being something that they unveil. I don't want to speculate too much, because this is how it's I heard that they're debuting the logo
they'll
tomorrow.
Take this clip and
not that that's a big deal really, but but just thinking of what could they possibly do that would be somewhat surprising, it would be those things. It wouldn't be, hey, NC State's coming in 2020. That's not happening. So, new logo, or the updated logo. They played the video trailer, for the commercial that they did last year. That was one of the big things that they unveiled. That he was remember, because he ran it back and he played it a second time right after that. So. Yeah, beyond that, I don't really know. I think it's just kind of hey, we're open for business. I'm sure he'll say that. People will take that some kind of way. And that also means naming yourself the All-State Big 12 or
Yeah.
the All-State 12. That's being open for business. Changing, or putting corporate logos on your jerseys. That'll be more of an institution by institution basis, but that's also open for business type stuff. So yeah, I mean, whatever business related that we haven't thought of or just what we've already touched on, I think would probably be the big highlights if there are going to be any from Brett Yormark speaking.
Yeah, because we've been spoiled in the last 3 to 4 summers because of leaving, and then right after we left Big 12 in 2021, and I guess it was Dallas, and then pop, all hell breaks loose. And then, of course, it's been that since that time, the transition from Bowlesby to Yormark, the addition, or it looked like the addition of the 4 schools coming in. And then, like Craig just mentioned, 8 schools have been added in the last 2 years, and that's half of the conference.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I would like to see this. I am growing tired of conference slogans, maybe just because I think it just means more is so pretentious. I would like to have the Big 12 announce tomorrow that the Big 12, we don't need a slogan.
Yeah.
Or the if they're the All-State 16 or whatever it is. But
yeah. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from there. I also think, I mean, you're in Las Vegas for the first time. You're hosting your media days here. You have 4 brand new schools. Like, is that not enough to churn the waters and get people excited? And I know for people like who are, watching in LA, no, it's not going to register on their radar, or people in, let's say, Georgia, not necessarily going to register on their radar. But I think for the people you're speaking to, which are Big 12 fans and, more diehard college football fans, I mean, I do think that that's newsworthy enough. It's like, hey, this is the kickoff. This is like the start of this new era officially. They're all here now. And we're also not in Arlington or in Frisco or in Texas, period. We're in Las Vegas. Like, that's where we are. If we had told you 3 years ago that, the Big 12 is going to be around, they're going to help kill the pack, even though the Big 10 was the one that delivered the fatal blow. And they're going to have done that after, poaching another 4 schools from the G5s. And they are going to, tinker with all these new ideas. And they're also going to move media days to Las Vegas. And it's not like there's been a lack of news. So, maybe you just don't have big news that you unfold at media days because you've already kind of done a whole lot.
Well, you had the one in 2012, Missouri A&M, right after everyone said, they had the slogan. The Big 12 slogans have been disaster.
Yeah.
Remember what we talked? But it would be interesting to see if we could have a summer where things are just, even with what might happen with the ACC. I mean, we've been through some, I say trauma. For some, it's been exhilaration. But the college football's been through a lot of change in the last 3 to 4 years. And not to mention the year of COVID is when it all kind of started right after that.
Yeah, I think that especially with Las Vegas, this is just part of Brett Yormark's playbook. I mean, taking the basketball, events to Rucker Park and all that, we're not going to really get to go. Like, the media here that covers the Big 12, not really going to get to go to that. This is about getting other media to notice them. And while I know that that's kind of foreign to some people, like, look, this is not open to the public. You can't go to media days. You also, I can tell you, you really wouldn't want to. Like, if you were just sitting in the stands, you'd be like, "Oh, is that the back of Dion's head?"
Yeah.
You wouldn't really.
Wouldn't be a fan
it wouldn't be a fan of it.
That's a point. It's not like Radio Row when they opened it up with a mass of people that could walk around inside.
No, I mean, it's not something you'd want to go to. It is set up for us to do it and make it look cool. Like, that's what we're doing. I mean, so it's not a thing that you'd like a fan event.
Phil Venzer, think about this. The 4 new schools entering the Big 12 were here last year when it was Pac-12 media days.
Yeah.
So those 4 have been here for that, and here they are again, but now a part of a different conference.
Yeah, and we know how awkward those media days were. If you'll remember, Colorado left early, which was, for many the sign of like, this is about to go down. And I just, I played contrarian because, well, it'd be boring if we all agreed all of the time. And I thought that, the Pac would find a TV deal. I just the thought of like a TV network or the TV networks and their role in helping kill off a league like the I just felt like surely like cooler heads will prevail here, and everybody will realize it makes sense. Even if like Colorado leaves, like that doesn't kill the league. But then obviously what fell out after that is if Colorado just left, that could have just been the case, and that could have been that's it. But then obviously all hell broke loose after that, and it's amazing what happens in a year's time, because those schools where Colorado clearly knew what they were doing already. But I don't know how far along everybody else was, because if you believe what came out after the fact, the night before they're having these meetings and Oregon suddenly has cold feet and, they're communicating. And I mean, who knows what to believe as far as the true story of when the balls got rolling and when the conversations really took serious turns. But yeah, in a year's time, that league is, for all intents and purposes, died up. But Oregon State, Washington State also in Las Vegas. They're going to be hosting like a cocktail party or something, or like an after hours thing. What is it, on Wednesday, I think, after the Big 12 is, for all intents and purposes, wrapped, or maybe it's tomorrow. I don't know. But Oregon State and Washington State, you're going to have like a mixer for people to come. That is basically going to be their media days. So yeah, it's crazy what happens in a year's time.
Well, last year everyone was waiting and thought, even though there was no reason to feel this way, like Kliavkoff was going to say something powerful, right? He was going to. I'll remember I was on my way down to see my brothers, and it was in late July when you guys were doing the show. I'm listening to the show that Colorado's joining the conference. It was like a Thursday.
Yeah.
That happened 3 weeks after Big 12 media days.
I remember last year watching George Kliavkoff do his State of the Conference speech and going, oh, dude, you're in trouble. Like that's when it hit me that something's about to happen, because these are not the statements of someone in the know. This is not someone who has got control over the situation. And, he had no definitive answers on anything. And you're like, well, your TV deal's up in a year, and like it's fine. These things get done quick, but
listen, 12 and on, he knew exactly what he was doing, and there was never any threat of anybody ever leaving. Okay,
and it was just like from
talk about disappearing.
From that moment on, though, it was on, because there were several presidents that left
Colorado was the main one.
Colorado made sure everybody saw them leave.
Right.
Like they made sure that while he was doing that everybody there saw them leave. They could have easily, made their way to the back of the room and just went out. But when he said that, they're like, yeah, bull, you know what? We're going.
Yeah, I think if I don't anticipate craziness from the Big 12 side of things as far as them making a move. And like, I'm not basing this on, like, I'm not insider information here. You're asking the question of like, what could possibly be announced? Like outside of a sponsorship deal, the naming of the conference, for example, hey, we're officially the All-State 12. I don't foresee anything like that, because I don't think they're the ones that are pushing the dominoes first. I think they're going to react to those dominoes, if anything. But, if crazy's going to happen, I know this. There's a lot of people pumping up July, craziness, July. So here we are. It's 8 days in. We got 3 weeks to go. Media days are kicking off. So if craziness is going to happen, then it would seem like it's going to happen starting like tomorrow. Not necessarily will it begin tomorrow, but like the time frame, is really there for if you want an OU Texas situation or something similar to that. Colorado basically, throwing the bird to the George Kliavkoff at last year's, like if something's going to happen, media days is where you're going to hear that start to percolate and start to gain some steam. And so that's what's going to be really fun about this next 3-week period or so, is everybody's going to get their turn and everybody's going to get their time. And there's going to be a lot of news floating around. You got the Big 12 this week, Pac-12 media day is tomorrow. So it is tomorrow. SEC next week, ACC and Big 10 the week after that. And then you've got, other conferences that are squeezed in. But yeah, these next 3 weeks, like there's going to be all sorts of news, whether it's the big earth-shattering tsunami that people have promised. That remains to be seen, but it's the month of July, so crazy things happen.
Yeah. Do you think Oregon State and Washington State will be out? Like if you're in Times Square or here in Vegas, if you're walking around the Strip, there's often people with like flyers handing them out. Like, will they be standing outside Allegiant Stadium, be like, hey, what are you doing later? You want some crab puffs and and beer and wine?
Man, I tell you what, those two, they were thrown a bad situation, but at the same time, some of their own leadership created that bad situation.
I think Schultz in particular, but I think here's where I don't totally blame him. He had to believe that. He had to go down that way because unlike everyone else, there was no plan B at all for them. They knew that. Like they weren't, people weren't picking up the phone going, good idea. Like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. They weren't, Oregon calls you up and you're like, hey, what's up, Oregon? Oregon State calls you up and be like, hey, you guys are great. We love your whole vibe, but we're busy now. But Oregon, you clear meetings for them. So,
yeah. Who was the death nail? Was it Oregon? No, it was. Who was the one that made the call that early Friday morning when Colorado was gone? The rumors were that Oregon. Utah, Arizona, was it Oregon is the one that pulled the trigger when they called?
And then when Washington got together and they basically they were the death nail.
Man, that was a crazy morning.
Part of me also thinks that they got together to work their story up of, let's make sure that we really want people to know that we push this to the end.
Yeah.
But, ultimately we're going to go for the guaranteed money because this is a bad deal as opposed to them going out. Because sometimes, like, I guess people need to be let down gently. If I'm Oregon and Washington, maybe this is not a skill of mine. I've been like, look, we're not going to go selling candy bars for Apple to try to make our money. We'll go to the Big Ten and make a little bit more than we're making for a few years, and then we'll get a full share in, whatever that year is, and we're going to be way better off. Sorry, but this is not tenable anymore. I hate that your feelings are hurt, but hey.
That all happened in a matter of Friday morning, 3 hours or so.
I don't think it happened in 3 hours. I think there were some that were like trying to lobby and be like, look, let's just give it a chance. It's Apple. Everything they do is great.
How soon before that morning did you think Oregon and Washington knew they were leaving?
I think they knew when Colorado knew. I think they all knew when Colorado knew. When Colorado knew, I think they all knew, and they spent that time because everybody's worried about their appearances, right? They spent that time trying to craft their appropriate exit strategy.
Because I do remember, and I don't know if it was Arizona State or Arizona, they've had their own administrative issues, but that they felt like when they woke up that morning that they were probably going to stay.
Yeah, well,
then all of a sudden they find out the two big brothers are leaving. But that was just such an amazing morning watching all that kind of go down, or just listening to it.
The Arizona schools decided that because they weren't the ones in control of it any longer. They saw Colorado say "see ya," and they saw Oregon and Washington say "see ya," and they saw the low money figure that was being offered through this primarily streaming deal, and they added all that up together and figured, you know what, we do need to go to the Big 12. I mean, I don't think they were the driving force, respectfully, but that was a very interesting time, and there was a lot of build up to that. And, I think it was a banner stretch for Brett Yormark and company, and now we'll get to see him, introduce those very teams that they pulled away just a year ago, and then what did I say? Next week or the week after, we'll see the Big Ten 2 weeks from now. The Big Ten will do this. Well, next week SEC will introduce OU and Texas.
Yep.
And then the Big Ten will introduce their new schools along with the ACC introducing their new schools in a couple of weeks. But yeah, that Pac situation was crazy, and it is one that makes you say, it is a situation where you never say never, kind of after that one. But yeah, I don't think the finalized version of how all that went down is actually the way that it went down. I think that was the nice way of saying how you all left. Because if you read, I remember the one piece that was really focused in on Washington and their text messages back and forth with all the various schools, and it was like, you knew the whole time, you tried to spin it like, well, once Colorado left, it's like you tried to kind of push the blame onto others, not blame, but push it onto others. And it's like, you're Washington and Oregon. Like, you were the rumors all along before Colorado to the Big 12 was a real thing. It was out there of you two. If not others, because of USC and UCLA. Like, well, if they went, then surely the next wave we'll see these guys. And so I forget her name. That was the one in charge at Washington, I believe, that
who's now at USC.
Is now at USC, but she was the one in the one article that I read from, I think it was Wilner, and I was just like, this is a really good way to try to massage the narrative of like, you guys really waited until the final moment and never before that. But I can see through this, and I know for a fact that is not exactly what happened.
No, because again, like the deal for the Big Ten, I mean, they didn't make that in an hour. Like those things are negotiated out. So they were going to the Big Ten. They knew the deal that they were going to get if they went there. Everybody just didn't want to be vilified like Texas and OU and USC and UCLA were. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to be vilified. They didn't want, because when you leave, everybody's mad at you. They didn't want people to think they're mad at them. And here's the thing. If they said, look, we just couldn't do this anymore. Part of the other thing is they wanted to make it look like they really worked to the end when they knew probably months before, like, hey, none of this is working because all of our presidents have their heads way up their butts. And because of that, this is where it's going to go. Because the people who knew were like, all right, we go to them and they're like, all right, what's the television offer from Fox? And they're like, it's $39 million a year, whatever it was. And they're like, we would like 50. And Fox is like, well, we have 39. And they're like, how about 50? And they're like, how about 35? And then they're like, well, we really think we're worth 50. And so they go back and they kept stuck.
It wasn't 30 something either.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the craziness of all of that.
Yeah. So, sometimes, when you have a negotiation,
but that was untrue too.
Like
right?
Smokey, if I told you I will, I'll buy your computer for $50.
No,
you would be like, all right, 75, and I'd be like 60, and you're like, 65, and we come to a number. The Pac-12 the entire time was like, our number is 50, and if you don't do that, we'll walk. And the television people were
so
like,
much
to where?
That has
like,
to
where
be.
Are you going?
That has to be a documentary.
That will be one day.
Sure
will be,
like whatever that is. What do they call it? E60
60 or 30 for 30.
30 for 30. All right, question for you. Andy Staples at the bottom of the hour. Is there any question whatsoever over the next 2 days that the number one most requested but most likely not get interview is Deion Sanders?
Yes.
Who would be number two?
Mike Gundy.
Mike Gundy.
Okay. Number three. Just do 5.
Let's do 16 in honor of the new conference.
Yeah.
Not going to do that.
Now, number 3.
Yeah, I'd say Shador, somebody like that. Yeah.
All right. Ollie Gordon will be there.
I think he'll do something.
Okay.
Considering that his head coach doesn't do any, but
Well, Gundy does the Tulsa, Stillwater, and maybe a little bit of Oklahoma City.
Here's what I like about. So we were told one time that we get our coach all the time. With Art Briles. And
my God!
Mike Gundy's philosophy is I don't give a crap about those places. I don't care if I recruit
Craig
there.
wasn't here yet. I don't think.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, but we're not going to get the coaches. We get them all the time. This is Mike Gundy's philosophy is I have to come here because I'm contractually required to. I will have fun in Vegas and eat some steaks, and I will go to Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Robert Allen, and then I am done with local media.
Well, what I would see, and again, I started covering college football at the level of Big 12 and all that in 2011 Big 12 Media Day, is you would see Mike Gundy go to all the Oklahoma stations, or you would see the coach at Texas at the time, which would have been Mack before Charlie Strong, would go and be on some of the Austins, and he came on ours too, and I would see the coaches and they would go visit with their radio stations in the market early in the morning. And we were wanting to know whether we were going to get Coach Briles, and we were told by somebody in media relations, no, you guys get him all the time. We're here to get him in front of everybody else, which I would take that in a heartbeat if that was true.
Yeah.
Because there are coaches that we'd like to see or have a chance to visit with. Gundy, Matt Campbell, who we've had on maybe once.
Every single coach is different.
No,
everybody has a different policy. Yeah. And I understand that. That's why I wish that there were, again, I'm all for uniformity. I would like it to be the same for everyone. I know that you can only schedule so many things, but I don't like the fact that you're coming to a media day and you're like, well, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do this. Well, our policy is different. The way that press conferences are handled, I just wish there were like This is what you have to do. This is what you have to say. I don't know.
Yeah. We have one more college football story we have not touched on. Evan Cooper at Nebraska is out. Long time Rule, not disciple, but a Rule assistant coach from everywhere he's been. He was at Baylor. And then, what was it, 3 or 4 days ago, all of a sudden the story is that Evan Cooper is going to resign. The story appears to be that Evan Cooper was going to get fired. And now he's out. Nebraska reacted pretty quickly. There were thoughts they were going to get Bill Bush, who was at LSU in the national championship team, coached under with Dave Aranda and Orgeron. And he lives there. He's a former Nebraska star. They ended up with John Butler, who's been in the NFL. But that is like Rules. That's like his right arm. I mean, Sean Patton and a few of the, but that's kind of like his right arm. This doesn't look good for Evan Cooper.
No, it doesn't. And I hate it for Evan, and I hate it for Nebraska to have to make a change this late. And I hope whatever it was isn't too bad. But I mean, it had to be if you get fired that quick.
No, I think when you
and are there other staffers in this?
There might be one or two others. It could be.
Yeah.
I'm not saying included, but there might be one or two other staffers that might also be. Here's what I know about Matt Rule. We kind of know him, and he's not easy to work for. He preaches a lot, family, etc., but that doesn't mean he's always easy to coach with or be on his staff. He seems to be incredibly loyal to those who've been around, but that isn't always in that way. This is a case where Evan Cooper, for whatever reason, he did not have a choice, I think, to resign. This was going to happen no matter what.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't think this move just comes because he's suddenly a month before you're about to start practicing. He's had a change of heart that he's, got. I mean, there are guys certainly that have like divorce issues or, whatever, baby mama drama and personal life stuff.
Life comes at you.
Life comes at you, but typically it's got to be a pretty massive deal to bolt on a job like what you were doing right before the season starts.
Yep.
Like, I mean, that's got to be some pretty big stuff.
And
so,
and also the fact that he is coaching a position that last year for them was really good. Their pass defense was really good. Their defense was good. Their problem was on offense. And so all of a sudden, a guy that's been a part of the success at least for 1 year on that side of the ball, that this doesn't pass the smell test.
Well, yeah, no, he's clearly not getting fired for like not doing his job right. I mean, he clearly was a good coach, and that's why. I mean, you talk about him being at Baylor. Well, he was with Temple before that. He was with Carolina after that. He was with Nebraska right away. So he's been there stride for stride for going on quite a while now. And this wasn't a Rule like deciding I'm going to go get somebody better. Absolutely not. This wasn't Evan Cooper not doing his job. Absolutely not. This was something behind the scenes. I've seen people give vague, types of hints as to what it could be. But I mean, who knows when you're reading through social media of who knows what they're talking. Like some of the topics we talked about, like who knows what, right? Like who knows who really knows something and who's just saying something. And so it's still a mystery to me what it was, but yeah, it had to be something pretty serious for Matt Rule to make that move. And that's, if that's the case, I hope for Evan Cooper's sake that it wasn't like a career ender. But I don't want to speculate too much on that because then you're getting into like some really tricky territory. But I say that because you talk about a guy that seemed to really be on the rise and somebody who is really good at his job and was probably going to be a college head coach one day, the way that things were moving. So yeah, you hope that wasn't all tossed aside for some bad decision making, but who knows? I'm sure we'll find out soon enough, but that was pretty shocking to see that. And I know it caught most Nebraska fans off guard.
Yeah. I went on huskermax.com, which is a pretty good site, and it's in the threads as far as like almost the message boards, but it's not a part of one of their top stories. And again, it's been 3 or 4 days, but there's some stories that were older than that one. But yeah, that was one of the stories. We wanted to make sure the connection with Rule, but also with Evan Cooper, who we knew when he was also on staff at Baylor, Temple, Carolina Panthers, and now at Nebraska. All right, around the corner, we have Andy Staples of On3.com. We are live here in Las Vegas, Lotus Broadcasting tomorrow inside Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Can't wait to get inside to bring all of that to you. We will start that day once we get set up. We'll start the day and start to record some of the interviews with those who are not live and bring as much of that to you throughout the next couple, 2, 3, or maybe even 4 days. This is 365 Sports. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco is where I get my cigars. 48-foot walk-in humidor with all of the great brands, nationally and internationally, the best elite brands around the world. And how about this email from owner Josh Caldwell, who told me about a couple that drove in from Fort Worth to Waco purely based on listening and hearing me talk about Don Humidor. They have a pipe that's a bit of a family heirloom that needed to be repaired. They made the special trip to Don's after listening to 365 Sports, finding out we are one of the only shops left that can help them with the pipe. Not only are they going to fix the pipe, and they did, they also bought a new setup, complete with pipe, stand, and some sample tobaccos. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center, just between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco. 48-foot walk-in humidor, great cigars, even what you need when it comes to smoking pipes and repair, and fresh coffee beans. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans with Cheyenne and Josh in the Town West Shopping Center between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Thank you for calling your local Marco's Pizza. We're turning up the heat with our new Reaper Cheesy Bread. Fresh, house-made dough is topped with a spicy cheese blend infused with jalapeno, habanero, and Carolina Reaper peppers. At only $5.99, this limited-time product is a hot deal. Add it to your order while you can. A Marco's team member will be with you shortly.
Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it, and that offer on the Reaper Cheesy Bread is available right now at any of the 5 Marco's Pizza locations in Waco, including Belmead, China Spring, Robinson, Woodway, and Hewitt. Order online at marcos.com. Call for a pickup or delivery. Marco's Pizza is turning up the heat with their all-new Reaper Cheesy Bread with fresh, hot, house-made dough topped with a spicy cheese blend infused with jalapeno, habanero, and Carolina Reaper peppers, and only $5.99 and for a limited time only. Marco's Pizza, the fastest growing pizza brand in America, 5 locations in Waco, and the new Reaper Cheesy Bread. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
365 Sports, Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, David Smoke. Thank you for watching, listening. YouTube, 365 Sports. On Twitter, at 365 Sports YT, and also Sikkim 365 app as well. What is the biggest 1 or 2 or 3 games, matchups that you look forward to the most in the Big 12? Because you know other conferences, Ohio State, Michigan, you have Texas, OU, Georgia. What are the teams? Because I struggled with this. I was thinking about this on the plane. Which are the ones that you can't wait to watch? I don't know if there's like you can't wait to watch that game.
I think
until things build and we find out who's winning.
There's a whole lot of new, so it's hard to Colorado and Tech might wind up being a great rivalry one day, but it's not right now, and the Big 12 doesn't want to try to force it like they did with the Big Ten, the Pac-12 did, like Colorado and Oregon. You both like weed. You should hate each other. And then they're like, no, it's the weed. We don't really care. So I think that the ones I'm most excited for this year are the ones like Kansas and Kansas State, which this should be the best. If everything goes according to projections, this should be the best that these two teams are at the same time ever.
Yeah, then one of the games that's got a little bit of history to it, that K-State, Iowa State, that's not even going to happen. The Farmageddon that's not even on the schedule for this year. Craig?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know everybody's schedule off the top of my head because it's not as simple as like they all play each other like they used to. So you could always say like, oh yeah, Texas and Texas Tech, that ought to be great because they absolutely are playing. Like in this new version, they wouldn't necessarily be playing this year. So the ones that I can think of off the top of my head, I mean, Kansas State's obviously a big one, potentially. I mean, like, that's the thing is it a big one by the time it rolls around? Like, will it be? I mean, you hope so. It should be. But, this far out, it remains to be seen because the reason why that's important is because there's absolutely going to be a game like West Virginia versus somebody that we're not even considering that could be the biggest matchup in the entire league, depending on how the dominoes fall. But based on just preseason hype, Kansas State, K-State, Arizona, even though that's not a conference game, you're pointing there to the Holy War. So, that's
Utah, BYU. Yeah.
So, like the rivalry games, I guess, Baylor, TCU. No, that I don't think a bunch of people are looking forward to that one. But, I mean, Oklahoma State, K-State, those just take the top teams on paper and match them up against one another. But I don't think there's a lot of instances of that because of the jagged scheduling. So that's something where we don't get the round robin and we're not going to have all the best teams. Like if you look at Utah's schedule and K-State's schedule, I was seeing this the other day, it was like they don't play any of the top teams. Right. They play like one of the top 5 teams in the preseason rankings, but they play like everybody in the bottom 5. So I don't know if that was intentional or not on the part of the Big 12. It could end up paying dividends and you get a team in the playoff. It could end up where everybody just, beats up on each other. But I do think you need to, if you're Brett Yormark, have more marquee scheduling in mind. And I don't believe anybody. I think it's either trolling or it's just misinformed, or I don't know. Maybe you just see the world differently because you only think that like schools in the Southeast matter or schools in the North, even though the Big Ten's a nationwide conference now at this point. I see a lot of shots at the Big 12, and it's like, I'm sorry, but dude, I watch Big Ten football enough. It is not the most exciting brand. And now you want to claim like Oregon and teams like that. Like that's rightful for you to do so. But let's not pretend like it's been the most exciting game. Like name the excitement outside of Michigan and Ohio State playing somebody for the most part, So I think the Big 12 gets a lot of bad rep when there are not games that draw 10 million viewers. And there's not going to be many of those games ever because all the biggest schools have been pulled into 2 different areas.
Yeah.
So that's like the whole design is to make them not have those types of matchups on paper. So I see all this like, well, look, the Big 12 only has one of this top 10. Or they lost Texas and Oklahoma. Like there's going to be an adjustment period, but I do think that there can be some great games. They're just not going to be the ones that ESPN or Fox Big Noon slobber all over. Yeah, they're not sexy because they don't have 100,000 in the stadium, or because they don't pull 7 million on average or whatever. Not that many do. But I think if you just want to watch college football, which has really always been my thing, not this snobby nose in the air sort of mentality that a lot of people have nowadays, this elitist crap, I think there's plenty of good football that's going to be played. It just might not be, the biggest matchups in the world.
Yeah. Before I call Andy, the Big Ten would have you believe that Minnesota, Michigan State 13-9 game that they're going to play, and then they're like, but that's football.
Yeah, that's old school
real
football.
It was muddy outside and it was tough.
Well,
and you're like,
I do watch a lot of Big Ten. Nebraska, which has not been sexy on offense. Maybe I don't know if they will be this year or not, but Yeah, there's games that it just seemed like that. It's not true, but it does seem like they're playing in on bad grass, a slow turf game. That doesn't mean Ohio State can't put up 50 on a lot of people or whatever, but there's really, you're right. There's
obviously not knocking Ohio State. They're the outlier here. We're not talking about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think that it remains to be seen, but I think on paper there's a few matchups here and there. But yeah, it's not Alabama versus Texas. That just doesn't exist, and it's not going to. And that's the job of all of these head coaches and these programs and Brett Yormark to find a way to make it more exciting. And I don't know if that's by scheduling, even though you can't guarantee a team-to-team success year after year. I don't know how you go about resolving that other than just having everybody all in on football, which has been a message of his recently, more so than let's be the basketball league. It's been, hey, basketball is great, but guys, we got to be good at football.
Well, no,
and that's what they got to focus on.
They got to go win some non-conference games and do that. Andy Staples on 3.com with us on 365 Sports. Andy, the Big 12 does not have that alpha, the brand. Those are gone. They're gone. So, in your opinion, how do they get the attention for later in the year when not just the automatic bid, but the possibility of more than one?
Well, I think that attention will sort of make its own gravy and generate itself, because the thing you got to realize is there's the automatic bid. So the Big 12 is going to get that. So people who might wind up playing the Big 12 champ, like they're going to be interested in who's going to win the Big 12. So you got potential playoff teams from the Big 10, from the SEC. Those fan bases are going to want to know, okay, who we got, who are we going to want to play? But then also, let's say you have a second or a third Big 12 team that is a potential at-large team. Well, everybody whose team is sort of on the cusp, who's sitting there at 8, 9, 10, 11, is going, well, I hope they don't win today because I need them to lose so my team has a better chance of getting that at-large. Or I hope they do win because I'd rather play them in the first round than somebody else. I think all of that will generate interest. Plus, the fact is the Big 12 will have so many games where you'll have teams that affect the top of the league every week because the teams are going to be so bunched together.
Andy, how much do you think that it will be helped by the way that we watch now, like where, a network cuts in and goes, hey, this game is down to the wire? That's going to happen in the Big 12, maybe more than any other league, because there's no alpha dog yet. And people will be like, oh, no. This is fun as hell to watch.
I think so too. I think they're going to have the most competitive games and the most competitive games with stakes of any league, because there will be so many trying to make it to that championship game that have, I can name you 10 Big 12 teams that I think have a legitimate shot to win the league this year. And there's no other league where you can talk about that. And you're right. The games are going to be close. And as you get down to the wire, because you have two spots in the conference championship game, and the winner of the conference championship game is more than likely going to be one of the top 4 seeds in the playoff, that is going to draw the casual fan in, because they're going to be saying, okay, who's this going to be?
Andy, got media days kicking off for the Big 12 tomorrow. Going to have Oregon State, Washington State are going to have their, mixer, I guess this week as well in Las Vegas. And then
the two-pack mixer.
The two-pack mixer, exactly right. And then, to follow everybody else over these next 3 weeks, you're a veteran of many media days. Do they still garner interest from you? And if so, what are maybe some of the things that you are most interested in possibly hearing about or looking to find more information on?
Well, I will tell you as a reporter, usually when there are several hundred reporters in one place, the good stories are somewhere else because everybody's on their best behavior with 100, or 500 or a million reporters for the SEC media days around. So it's not that. It's more just getting excited because there's real football. There's people to talk to. There are stories that are going to come out that haven't been told this offseason because a lot of these guys have kind of been in the bunker, or for the coaches, they've been recruiting a ton over the last few months, and that's all they've really been thinking about. And so their attention turns back towards this year's team. And like this season especially, there's so much new. Like it's going to be a little weird seeing Arizona and Utah at Big 12 Media Days.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's going to be strange, but it's also going to be strange to see Big 12 Media Days in Vegas.
Andy Staples with us on 3.com as we're on the eve of Big 12 Media Days. Andy, the SEC's won a bunch of national titles, a lot of them, really in the last 15 or 20 years. They have a depth at the top. Do you think the depth at the top, at times, perhaps the middle of the pack is overrated in the SEC, or does that just filter down because they're so good at the top?
I mean, the NFL draft tells you they have better players than everybody else.
Yep.
So I don't think that the middle is that necessarily overrated. Now there are going to be years where there's, the 6th or 7th best SEC team is getting a little bit too much of a bump, but the fact of the matter is Kentucky's a first round defensive lineman in Deion Walker. And how many kind of middle to bottom teams have first round defensive linemen running around in most leagues? Like, that's just kind of par for the course there. Like, they just have better players than the other leagues. And I think that gets respected in a way in how people view the league.
How does Deion Sanders add substance to his style this year?
Block, tackle, block especially. They have to be better on the offensive line. That is really what it comes down to, I think, for that offense, because Shedeur Sanders is really good. And I like the receiving core. I feel like they've upgraded at running back. But the question is, how much better will that offensive line, which has been basically revamped through the transfer portal, and then, of course, they've got Jordan Seaton, who was the number 1 O-line recruit in the country this past year. If that group is better, then this is a better team. This is a team that should make a bowl game. I don't know that they're going to compete for the Big 12 title. They're one of the 10, I would say, who would have a crack at it, but I think for them it's more of a puncher's chance. But if they are better on the offensive and defensive lines, then yeah, we're talking about a bowl team that's going to go 7-5 or so, and that's how that works. If they are still struggling up front, especially as they change to an offense that looks more like kind of the turn of the century NFL offenses under Pat Shurmur, then they're going to have a problem, because it's going to be very tough for Shedeur to get the ball out, because this is an offense that will require more time to throw than they had last year when they were running the veer and shoot. I mean, you guys in Waco know exactly what that offense is that Sean Lewis ran. So when you're running that, it doesn't require you to have a dominant offensive line, and they still were so bad on the offensive line they couldn't protect it all. So they've got to be better up front. And if they can be, then you're talking about a much better season.
Andy, in the last 4 years or so, NIL, transfer portal, realignment, cannabis is now legal, I guess, in a way. I saw the note from Eric Prisbella on the story that he wrote on on3.com about Ricky Williams. EA Sports is about to come back in about a week or two. COVID year, revenue sharing. I don't even know I could keep going.
Yep.
Which of those is the biggest of everything I just mentioned?
Oh, man. Okay, so it is the change of the transfer rules. It's that plus NIL coming in at the same time, basically in 2021. But the change in the transfer rules is what supercharged NIL, because it allowed people to basically be free agents every 6 months. And I think that's what's changed the sport the most. And it's changed how you have to coach. It's changed how you have to recruit. Now, I'm not one of those people who says, these poor coaches, they make plenty of money, they can figure it out. I also think it's funny because the coaches that used to be used car salesmen in recruiting are in deep, deep trouble now, because you can't lie in recruiting anymore. Because if you do, that person's gone.
And the video game, I know that you got to play it. You're one of the few that's gotten to play it. I have a couple questions. One, in your estimation, what will be the best part? And two, because I've asked everybody who's played this, what do I tell my wife to convince her that this is work related?
Well, it's certainly, I'll answer the second one first, because that's the easy one. It's certainly work related. You're learning the rosters, you're learning the playbooks. You just want to have a better understanding of how the dynamics work when you're doing dynasty mode. You're learning, you're trying to empathize with the coaches you cover when in terms of roster management, as you learn how to manage a roster in the transfer portal era. All of that is very work related. Very work related. Now, in terms of what you're going to like best, that depends on the kind of person you are. You know, if you're just a big old college football fan and you love the pageantry and the sights and the sounds, you're just going to want to play in as many stadiums as you can. You're going to do play now, and you're just going to go see every different stadium, and you're going to love it. But if you're one who wants to get down into the granular details, the nitty gritty, you're going to want to do dynasty mode. So that's the part you're going to like the most, because you have to decide, like a real coach does, how much do I recruit out of the portal? How much do I devote to recruiting out of high school? And your resources are limited. So you have to make those decisions and budget it accordingly. And if you don't do it right, you're going to screw up.
People, I think many fans wanted to see players get paid. A lot of people wanted to see an expanded playoff. A lot of people wanted to see the video game. We're getting all of these things in a very short amount of time. I guess revenue sharing would be the obvious answer maybe here, Andy, but is there anything that college football hasn't reinstalled or installed whatsoever that you think is the biggest thing that's missing from making it an even better product?
Well, the revenue share is coming. So, you know, I think if they want to have more rules, because I think the free agency every 6 months is a bit extreme. I would like it if they could have some rules about player movement that could actually be enforced. But they're going to have to choose a different path to do that. The schools have been very clear they don't want the players to be employees. And if you don't have any sort of collective bargaining, you can't ever have a salary cap, and you can't ever really have rules about player movement that you can enforce. So they've made that decision. And I know it bothers the coaches, because the coaches, like, that's all they want are some player movement rules. Mm-hmm. And they understand the schools are not on their side on that.
I thought I saw something, maybe it was during the 4th of July break, where there, maybe Darren Heitner, I'm not sure who it was, that NIL, or they're now trying to get people or players to sign, for example, an NIL buyout clause. Have you seen that with that?
Oh, they've been working on all that stuff. But the thing is, until you make them employees,
mm-hmm.
there's not much you can do. Now, yes, there will be clauses like that in contracts, because if you're signed with a collective, you know, you have a relationship with that collective. If you want to break that deal and go somewhere else, there may be some financial penalty for that.
Yep,
that's perfectly within reason, and that's to be negotiated between the player and the collective. So it's not unreasonable to expect something like that. And I've heard stories of player leaves school A, goes to school B, collective at school A says, we're going to continue paying this player, and tells collective at school B, you can't make a deal with him unless you buy out our deal.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Andy, part of me thinks that the reason the biggest reason they will not say we're going to collectively bargain or we're going to work out some sort of real revenue sharing and here are the specifics is because once they do it, they don't have the expertise to do it and not let the horses out of the stable and it would be bad.
Well, it probably is a lot of the current administration at various schools saying, you know what, we're not equipped to handle this. And what's going to happen is it's going to become clear we're not equipped to handle this. And once this starts, the schools that have the people who know what they're doing, those people are going to keep their jobs. But everybody else is going to get replaced by people who work in the NFL, who understand how all this actually works. Last thing for you, Andy. Andy Staples on 3.com. Colorado plays North Dakota State at Nebraska, which who knows with their expectations, rule year 2. At Colorado State, who almost beat them last year. Then home against Baylor. There is no sexy game on their schedule. There's no Oregon, Washington, USC, whatever. Can there be, if Colorado starts 4-0 again, will there be this, oh my God, look what Deion's doing, or did that ship happen last year only? Oh no, that'll absolutely happen. Listen, we want to talk about Deion. People want to listen to people talking about Deion. People want to have their opinions about Deion. He's one of those people that everybody has an opinion on. Mm-hmm. You know, we're seeing it now with Caitlin Clark. I think is the person in the sports world who everybody seems to have an opinion on, and Deion's the same way. So yeah, if they start 4-0, people will be just absolutely it will be the hot take. It'll be on the debate shows, all that. Now, I will say they do have to play K-State and Utah,
right,
who are the betting favorites to win the Big 12. So there are games that could be tough. I mean, but like you said, 4-0 is possible, but it's also possible that they start 2-2 with that schedule. I mean, Nebraska's defense is going to be really, really good this year. We don't know about their offense. If it's the same as last year, then Colorado probably goes and wins that game. But let's say Dylan Raiola, the freshman quarterback at Nebraska, is good and starts strong, then Colorado could lose that game. Baylor, I did predictions for the season, 10 fearless predictions for the 2024 season, and one of those was Dave Aranda saves his job at Baylor because I think they are ripe for a turnaround right now. I find it very hard to believe that they're going to be what they were last year. And we saw it with Neil Brown last year, where he goes, you know what? I'm really good at calling offensive plays. I got here because I'm a great offensive play caller. I'm going to take that back. And at the same time, West Virginia had finally figured out their NIL stuff. They kept a lot of their best players. So that helped too, but he wins 9 games. I believe in Baylor a lot more with Dave Aranda calling the defense. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, and he had to because, again, that was part of the deal. You can come back. How are we going to make this better? And that was part of the deal. Mac Rhodes and Dave had the conversation the same day, in fact, when they played West Virginia and lost that game to end the season. Andy, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Great stuff on onfree.com. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Andy Staples with us to close out at least part of the third hour here in Las Vegas. He has Baylor 2019. They had the winning season the year before. 2021, they were 2-7 the year before COVID, the transition to Aranda. Briles' first winning season in 10 was the third year for him. And that was an RG3 came back from the knee injury. Are they one that kind of can surprise some people when you think they're down? Well, after being down for 2 decades.
Well, look, if DeQuan Finn is as good as advertised, if the new offense, helps them move the ball better, if that can mask what I still think is going to be a deficiency in the offensive line, I think they might be better, but I still think they're going to have problems, especially when, as late as they were, kind of grasping at the portal to fill the depth there. Yeah, and if the best defensive coordinator in college football, which is what Dave Aranda was when he took the head coaching job, reemerges, then yeah, I would say that should be a recipe for winning.
Yeah, I don't think the other examples have anything to do with this situation. I mean, it's just coincidental. Like, it's not like anything special magic that Baylor University has that coaches can flail and then turn it around. I don't think that that's like some, magical trait that they have. I think that's just the way things have worked out. And I hope that it works out. I hope that Andy is on point. I know that I've said that their expectations should be the bare minimum, make a bowl game. And I still believe that based on all the moves they've made this offseason. I think that's doable. Whether they're capable of pulling it off or not, I mean, that will be up to them out on the field for these 12 weeks that we get to see them. I just think that's something that's happened a couple times. So at least, if anything, gives you faith that it can happen again. It doesn't necessarily mean that's how it always will go, but it does give you faith that it can happen that way, and he can turn it around after a pretty miserable year. So, we'll see, obviously, here in just a matter of weeks.
Well, we'll know tomorrow, because tomorrow Big 12 Media Day starts. 16 teams over 2 days inside Allegiant Stadium, home of the Raiders, and we'll start our coverage from Big 12 Media Days tomorrow and be there throughout the day with a lot of different segments, some live, some recorded, and then, of course, move it into Wednesday. But we wrap up today. Garrett Ross, Emery Winter, and Jack McKenzie have been doing their thing. 365 Sports tonight at 10:30 on the local CW. But now time for Paul Catalina at his top 5. Bambi SQ, what is the number one reason, or 2 or 3 reasons, Bambi, that people should contact House of Travel?
As a travel agency local here in Waco, we can take care of all your bookings, your payments, answer your questions, help you when there are issues or problems, things that may come up that you don't know what to do or how to fix them. People don't realize we don't charge a fee for what we do. It doesn't cost you extra to use a travel agent. We're just here. We get paid by the tour companies and the cruise lines to represent them. But you have an expert on your side that's here and local, and you have a name and a face to put together to help you with anything that you may need. Give us a call. We can price things for you. We can help you answer questions. We can make it simple, easy, and one stop.
Your knowledge of all the years you've done this and then spit it back to them or give them options?
Helps us to kind of know a date range, a budget, what your goals are, and what you want to see and do on your vacation. And then that helps us to know what to look for, and we can narrow down and help you make the best choices for your vacation so you get the best value. You get exactly what you were hoping for, and making sure that it's taken care of with a carefree, easy, simple for you type vacation. I've been doing this for over 40 years. Every day I learn something new. I experience new situations and things that I can help take care of for people, whether it's just making sure you get the best deals and find the best vacations, or whether it's to solve that problem, like you've got a flight that's being canceled and you don't know what to do. There's weather coming up. Should I cancel my trip next week because of the hurricane? Those are things that we take care of and you don't have to worry about. You've got somebody that you can rely on that you know is an expert, knows what we're doing, have been doing this for a long time, so that you're not questioning, okay, does the person on the other end of the phone really understand what I'm asking or know how to find those deals? You've got an expert, and we are here to take care of that.
For more information, go to houseoftravelwaco.com. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texans are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy. And, you know, I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It's time for Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Where's the best beef in Texas? Your house when you order from Texas Beef House. Unleash the flavor of Texas raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Howdy from Las Vegas. At this point, recording this, we've all been up for about 12 hours. So if during today's Texas Beef House Top 5, I go off the rails and start speaking in tongues, you know why? We had to get up really early because there's no major airport in Waco and had to drive down and get here. But we are doing the show just the same and super fired up to be here. But again, just fair warning. Also, when you go to TexasBeefHouse.com, use our promo code SICK'EM10 for 10% off your order. Top 5 players left off the all Big 12 preseason team. Not all these guys were on my preseason team, but some of them were, and they all didn't make it, but these are guys certainly deserving. Sometimes they were blocked by a glut at a position. Sometimes, maybe an oversight, including one on mine. We'll get to it. Number 4. Number 5, defensive lineman Dalen Dotson from UCF. This guy's a transfer from Tennessee Martin. He is really, really good. He's going to get after the quarterback. He's going to make a ton of plays. And look, it's kind of a deep position when you got 16 teams, but Dalen Dotson, I think at season's end, is going to be a guy with a lot of plays and will probably wind up on at least one of the postseason teams. If not the first team, probably the second team. He's a guy who's got a lot of speed, a lot of power, a lot of strength, and can get after the quarterback. And Gus Malzahn fired up about Dalen Dotson. Number 4, Cam Rising, quarterback at Utah. Now, I put him at number 4 because he didn't play at all last year, and so that's why he's not the first-team quarterback. Shedeur Sanders is, and Shedeur Sanders is very deserving based on his athletic ability. But as far as I know, only one of the quarterbacks in this entire conference, and look, I even voted for Avery Johnson as the first-team quarterback. You guys know how much of an Avery Johnson stan I am. But if you want to talk about a person deserving to be on the preseason All Big 12 team, the only guy in the conference who's won 2 conference titles, albeit not in the Big 12, but back-to-back conference titles as a quarterback, is Cam Rising. And if Cam Rising is old, he might wind up with a 3rd conference title and one of the first players to have 2 conference titles at quarterback in 2 different conferences with the same team. Number 3, a transfer to Colorado, LeJonte Wester, wide receiver. He is a reception machine. And if Shedeur Sanders is the true number 1 quarterback in this league, and even if he's not, he's still going to put up numbers, and LeJonte Wester is going to get him a lot of first downs. He's going to be a red zone weapon. He's going to be a jackknife for them, doing a whole bunch of different things. And he had a ton of over 100 receptions last year for Florida Atlantic. He went to a perfect place to get receptions because they throw the ball a lot at Colorado. Even though they're going to back off and probably try and run the ball more, they're going to throw the ball a lot. He's going to move the chains a lot. He's going to have a ton of receptions. And at year's end, people are going to go, wow, that guy can play. Number 2, Tyler Odum from Iowa State, a defensive tackle. This is someone who could start sneaking up draft boards here pretty soon. Big, strong, fast for a defensive tackle, just a bulldog, total Matt Campbell type player, and violent in the middle. Run stuffer, can do all the things that you want a defensive tackle to do, and will move up the boards throughout the year. But again, defensive tackle had a glut. There's guys like Dante Corleone who may or may not play now due to the blood clot issue, but I think Tyler Odum from Iowa State is someone to watch. And number 1, and only blocked out because there are 2 excellent running backs ahead of him on this roster in Ollie Gordon and Taj Brooks, is Devin Neal, running back from Kansas. He is absolutely fantastic. He's going to help them out tremendously. He's going to put up a bunch of yards. He has Daniel Highshaw there with him in the backfield, and hopefully a healthy Jalen Daniels. I think you're going to see a lot from Devin Neal this year, and I put him on my team over Taj Brooks. And it was, 1A, 1B, 1C for me when it came to those 3 running backs. I think they're all really good, but I think Devin Neal in most other years probably makes the first team at running back in the Big 12. That's the top 5. We're wrapping up from Vegas right after this.
Yes, Big 12 Media Days tomorrow and also Wednesday. But today, thanks to our guests, including UNLV coach Barry Odum, hosting Big 12 Media Days and so much more. Craig Smoke and Paul Catalina, thanks to Jack McKenzie, Emery Winter, and Garrett Ross, and of course our great sponsors who bring the coverage to you every day, and especially here from Las Vegas, including Allen Samuels House of Travel, our travel sponsor to Vegas and also back. Tonight, 10:30 on the local CW, 365 Sports Tonight. Emery Winter's working on that. Thank you for watching and listening, and also be back tomorrow. We'll be here at 3 in Vegas, but at Allegiant Stadium. I'm David Smoke. Good night.